Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in 4th Division. Draw sword and become stronger. Chapter 1. Karakura Town. In an alley not far from Kurosaki Hospital, a young man was rectifying his spirit, and was forced to the corner by a phantom. Are you going to be eaten like this? The boy's eyes were full of unwillingness. The emptiness in front of the young man, but regardless of whether the young man was unwilling or not, he opened his bloody mouth and took a bite at the young man. In Shu's eyes, as a young man who is spiritually adjusted, he is nothing but delicious food. The 4th of Hado by Lei. Boy Yishi, this is Kido who sings abandoned, and the voice is so familiar. A lightning bolt hit Shu's back from behind, and Shu was temporarily paralyzed. The young man took the opportunity to escape from the corner and saw the appearance of the person who came. It was a petite girl with short hair and a single bangs hanging down her forehead. She was dressed in a death tyrant outfit and wore a zanpakuto on her waist. Shinigami. That's right, this beautiful girl Shinigami is Rukia Kuchiki. You hide away first. The teenager nodded to Rukia Kuchiki, then ran to a telephone pole not far away and hid. At this time, Shu also resumed action, temporarily paralyzed by Bai Lei. It turned slowly and looked at Rukia Kuchiki, who disturbed its feeding. Its face with an empty face became hideous, and it was obviously very angry. One of Hado Rush. A small blast of spiritual energy shot from Rukia Kuchiki's fingertips towards Shu's face. With 2 hands in front of Shu's face, the shock wave emitted by Rukia Kuchiki left burn marks on its arms, and a white smoke rose, which did not cause any substantial damage to it. When Shu put his 2 hands down from his face, the coldly shining blade continued to enlarge in his eyes. Brush. Rukia Kuchiki slashed Shu from the head down in 2, and slowly retracted her Zanpakuto de no Shirayuki back into the scabbard. This is just a low-level virtual, and its strength is pitifully weak. Therefore, Rukia Kuchiki killed Zanpakuto with ease without liberating Zanpakuto. The teenager hiding behind the telephone pole ran over and looked at Rukia Kuchiki excitedly. Thank you for saving me. Finally got to meet one of Shinigami's protagonists. You don't have to thank me, I'm Shinigami who was just dispatched here to be stationed here, and I should do it to destroy the void. Rukia Kuchiki said and pulled out Zanpakuto. I'll take you to where you should go. Okay, the boy nodded. He naturally knew where Rukia Kuchiki said he should go. Rukia Kuchiki has just been dispatched to Karakura Town, indicating that the plot has just begun. The boy's name is Asaba, who traveled to the Shinigami world 3 days ago and became the whole soul of Karakura Town. After Asaba learned that his identity was a rectification, he wanted to be buried as soon as possible, and then went to Rukongai. Rukongai is obviously a better choice than being eaten by a virtual or becoming a virtual. Rukia Kuchiki tapped the Zanpakuto hilt on Asaba's forehead and then retracted it. A circle of light appeared on Asaba's forehead, with the word, soul, embedded in the circle. Soul burial is activated. Asaba's figure became more and more faint. Thank you, Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia Kuchiki was slightly stunned. Who was this young man, and why did he know her name? She was just dispatched here by Jashiro Yukitaki. Soul Society, outside Seraiti, West Rukongai District 43. Asaba's figure slowly appeared on the street. The people around just glanced at Asaba and continued with what they had done before. Apparently, they were not surprised by the appearance of newcomers. Detected that the host has come to Rukongai, and met the system startup requirements. The system is on. Open successfully. Congratulations to the host to turn on the powerful system. When Asaba heard the prompt sound in his head, he was indescribably excited. Coming. The welfare of the traveler. Asaba, who knew the system routines well, shouted in his heart, System, introduce your function. Really? The system responded in Asaba's mind. Host concentrates on drawing his sword to become stronger, and if he draws a sword for a certain number of times, he can get additional rewards. Gone. The system did not respond. Where's the novice gift pack? The system still did not respond. A string of black lines appeared on Asaba's head. At least a sheathed knife. Rukongai is centered on Seraiti, and is divided into 80 areas from the inside to the outside in 4 directions from the south, and north. From District 1 to District 80, the security and living conditions in Rukongai are getting worse and worse. After arriving in Area 60, Killings and piles of corpses can be seen everywhere. Area 80 is even more chaotic. Only the strong can survive there, and the weak can only be killed. The 43rd district of West Rukongai, where Asaba is now located, the security and living environment is not too bad, but it is definitely not good. Asaba was walking down the deserted street, trying to find a knife and scabbard. When you draw a sword, you become stronger. You must have a sword first. If the system does not give it, it will only be self-sufficient. What makes Asaba speechless is that the West 43rd district is more desolate than he imagined. It seems that it is not so easy to pick up the knife and the scabbard. Could it be that I can only work part-time and buy a knife? The people of Rukongai have naturally started various businesses in order to obtain a better livelihood. The difference between Rukongai and the present world is that the present world has entered the age of electrical appliances, while Rukongai is still before the industrial reform. Just when Asaba was thinking about finding a job, a few gangsters surrounded Asaba. The tall man at the head put his hand on Asaba's shoulder. "Hey, boy, you look at me and Shung, are you new here?" Asaba didn't answer, but stared at the katana the tall man wore around his waist. The samurai sword was a little worn, the handle was even broken in two, and the tall man was wrapped in rags. Even so, Asaba wants it. Asaba rolled his eyes, wondering how to get hold of the tall katana. "Hey boy, are you dumb or a fool? Can't you hear Lousy asking you?" Asaba looked up. "I just got here, do you have anything to do with me?" "Of course I have something to do with you." The tall man's hand on Asaba's shoulder began to press down hard. "Boy, do me a favor." "What if I don't help?" "Don't help." The tall man had a ruthless look in his eyes, and withdrew his hand and pointed at his own face with a thumbs up. "Lousy Kimura has the final say on this street. If you don't help, Lousy promises that you won't survive tomorrow. Do you have to die without help?" As expected of Rukongai. This street is just one of the many streets in the 43rd district of West Rukongai. This tall man named Kimura is a street bully at best, but if he doesn't agree, Asaba will die. This is Rukongai's rule, everything speaks with strength. Kimura wanted Asaba to help, but Asaba wanted the samurai sword around his waist. "After I help, as the boss of this street, you will definitely pay me." Kimura looked at Asaba and narrowed his eyes. This kid is not small, he dares to negotiate conditions with him. "What do you want?" Asaba stared at the samurai sword on Kimura's waist and said, "I think your sword is pretty good." "Okay, as long as you do what I tell you to do, I'll give you this samurai sword." "I want it now." Kimura squinted his eyes into a line. "Don't take an inch." Asaba wanted to get the katana sword, find a place to hide and draw the sword to become stronger. "After you have enough skills, come out and kill the street bully Kimura." Pity. This Kimura deserves to be a street bully, not a fool. 10 minutes later, Kimura took Asaba to an alley by the river. "Did you see that girl?" Asaba looked in the direction Kimura pointed, and saw a boldly dressed woman standing on the bridge. Kimura stared at the woman's beautiful legs that were in close contact with the air and rubbed her hands. "Ask her to the wild in the east, and then you don't have to worry about it." Kimura saw Asaba staring at the katana at his waist. "Don't worry, I'll give you the samurai sword as soon as I get there." Asaba walked out of the alley and walked towards the woman on the bridge. A fool next to Kimura said, "Boss, isn't this samurai sword your most handy weapon? Do you really want to give it to him?" "Idiot, how could Lousy give it to him, after getting to the place?" Kimura made a gesture of wiping his neck. On the bridge, Asaba came to the woman. "Beauty, the weather is really nice today. I know there is a place with a nice scenery in the wild, do you want to?" "Okay." Asaba was stunned for a moment, but before he finished speaking the lines he thought, the other party agreed. Asaba, 17, is 1.8 meters tall. Black hair and black pupils, with a handsome face. Asaba thinks he's a little handsome, but he's far from so handsome that a girl can't walk when she sees him, right? Asaba looked at the woman carefully, and found that the woman had extremely incongruent heavy makeup on her face. When Asaba was in a daze, the woman looked into the alley and took the initiative to hold Asaba's arm. "Little brother, let's go to the place you said." Asaba was startled, not because of the boldness of the woman's movements. But after Asaba's arm was attached to the woman's body, she clearly felt that there was a knife hidden on her body. This woman has a problem. It's getting late today, and you should be well prepared for a trip with a beautiful woman. Asaba noticed that the woman glanced at the alley again. Maybe this woman was deliberately attracting the attention of the Kimura bully. The woman's hand holding Asaba's arm tightened, and there was a smile on her face. Little brother, don't you want to be more intimate with me? Asaba said. 3 days later, it is still here, we will see you. People want to go now. In the morning 3 days later, I will wait for you here, and introduce some friends to you by the way. Oh well, seeing that the woman agreed, Asaba was even more certain. This woman came to bully Kimura and others. Little brother, then we agreed that we will see you here in the morning 3 days later. After Asaba nodded, the woman left on the other side of the bridge. At this time, Kimura and the others in the alley rushed over. What's the matter? Didn't you ask her to go out to the wild? How did she go? Asaba said. She said that she was inconvenient these few days and couldn't go to the wild to dry, but she promised to wait for me here in 3 days, and then go to the wild with me. Okay, then there's only 3 days left. Kimura was about to leave after saying that, when Asaba stopped him. I've already helped. As the boss of this street, shouldn't you pay me first? Kimura was about to get angry, but was pulled by a younger brother next to him. Boss, first lend him the knife to play for 3 days, and then take it back 3 days later. That's all. Asaba gets Kimura's sheathed katana. Wilderness in District 43, West Rukongai. Brush. Asaba pulled out the katana and felt the change in himself. Kindness. Great. No beeps in my head, and Reiatsu didn't change. Asaba tried a few more times, but still didn't notice any change in his Reiatsu. When Asaba was confused, a beep sounded in his mind. Host needs to concentrate on drawing the sword in order to get the reward for drawing the sword. Need to focus. I see. Asaba took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Subsequently, Asaba put his hand on the hilt of the samurai sword, concentrated, and drew the samurai sword out. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu +1. This time, Asaba visibly sensed that his pitifully weak Reiatsu had strengthened a little. Asaba is happy, he can really become stronger. Come again. Asaba concentrated again and drew the katana. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu +1. Reiatsu buffed a bit again. Come again. ... Asaba found that with concentration, he could only draw the knife about 5 times a minute. It's a bit slow. Fortunately, I was resourceful and won 3 days. What Asaba needs now is time. As long as Asaba is given enough time, let alone a few Rukongai gangsters, it is the so-called strongest Shinigami of Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni, and Asaba is confident that he can kill him. 2 hours later, Asaba was soaked with sweat. Concentrating on drawing the knife, it was not as easy as I imagined. Every time the knife is drawn, Asaba's mental and physical strength are consumed a lot. After 2 hours of concentrating on drawing the sword, Asaba's physical strength and spirit were not enough to support Asaba to continue drawing the sword. So Asaba lay down on the grass and began to rest. What Asaba didn't know was that there was a person standing beside Asaba. The man was wearing a Death Tyrant outfit inside, and there was a feather weave outside the Death Tyrant outfit, with a big 5 character on the feather weave. This person is the captain of the 13th Division 5th Division of the Seraiti Gotei, Aizen Sosuke. Aizen Sosuke is now wearing a spirit mask with Kido bent light applied. The lingerie clothing can completely hide the wearer's Reiatsu, and when combined with Kido bent light, it makes the wearer invisible. Even if it makes a sound, it will not be detected. So, Aizen Sosuke stood next to Asaba and observed Asaba for nearly 2 hours, but Asaba also failed to spot him. The woman Asaba had met before was a 6th grader who was about to graduate from the True Spiritual Arts Academy, named Naoko. The vice captain of the 5th Division, Hinamori Momo, is Naoko's Kido teacher and admires Naoko very much. Hinamori Momo proposed to Aizen Sosuke in advance to invite Naoko into the 5th Division. Hinamori Momo was of high use value to Aizen Sosuke, so Aizen Sosuke agreed to Hinamori Momo. Now that Rukia Kuchiki has arrived in this world, the main line has begun. Aizen Sosuke didn't want to be surprised, so he wore a spirit mask that imposed Kido, and went to the True Spiritual Arts Academy to see if Naoko would have an impact on his plans. As a result, it happened that Naoko took a leave of absence to leave the True Spiritual Art Academy, and Aizen Sosuke kept up. After learning that Naoko came to Soul Society, the younger sister who formed a new family was killed by Kimura Bully and several of his gangsters. Naoko this time, just to avenge her sister. Aizen Sosuke decided that Naoko would not have any impact on his plans, but Asaba's performance surprised him. It's really interesting. I never thought that someone could become stronger in this way. Is this a secret technique? Or a special skill? Asaba's beginning Reiatsu, pitifully weak, barely perceptible. And now, only 2 hours have passed. Asaba's Reiatsu is already much stronger than the average soul. Looks like Soul Society is about to have another incredible newcomer. Aizen Sosuke left. He didn't do anything to Asaba. The way Asaba became stronger is special, but Asaba is too weak now. Aizen Sosuke feels that Asaba has a bright future, but it won't affect his plans now. 2 months. According to Aizen Sosuke's calculations, Asaba can at most reach the level of a vice captain, which is nothing to be afraid of. After Asaba rested, a carp stood up straight from the ground, and then continued to concentrate and draw his sword to become stronger. Rest when you are tired. After resting, he continued to draw the knife. That's all. The time came to the morning 3 days later. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu +1. Host successfully draws his sword 10,000 times and gets an extra sword drawing reward, Ultimate Reiatsu Perception. Having received the Ultimate Reiatsu Perception, Asaba perceives his own Reiatsu. Asaba can even sense the countless tiny Reiatsu in the West Rukongai neighborhood. At this time, Asaba's own Reiatsu met the admission criteria of the True Spiritual Arts Academy. Kimura, although a street bully, did not get admitted to the True Spirit Academy. Kimura's Reiatsu is naturally not as good as the current Asaba. As for the little gangsters who followed him, it would be unbearable. After half an hour, Asaba came to the promised bridge. Asaba can absolutely not come here and continue to draw his sword to become stronger. However, Asaba has always been vengeful. Kimura and the others bullied him. This is not the case. In the alley not far from the bridge, Naoko, who had been waiting there early, felt that Reiatsu on Asaba was full of surprise. 3 days no see, what happened to Asaba's Reiatsu? However, Naoko is a 6th-year student of the Shinoshu Academy, and her Reiatsu has reached the level of a regular soldier of the 13th Division of Gotei. Moreover, Naoko has been trained in the academy to slash fists and go ghosts. In her own opinion, it is not a problem for her to fight 3 Asabas. Naoko walked out of the alley and slowly came to Asaba's side. Little brother, I'm sorry, you must have waited for a long time. Asaba now has the ultimate Reiatsu perception, and naturally the Reiatsu who perceives the woman is above him. Asaba also sensed that Zanpakuto, who was hidden by Naoko, Zanpakuto himself had spiritual powers. Asaba inadvertently glanced at the alley where Naoko was hiding before, and smiled. The beauty can agree to the invitation, but I couldn't sleep last night, so I came here in the middle of the night and waited. A trace of disgust flashed in Naoko's eyes, but she quickly covered it up and did not expose Asaba. Little brother, aren't you going to introduce me to your friend? Why are you the only one? Seeing that Naoko would not expose him, Asaba determined that Naoko had other plans. Asaba had also arrived here early, when Kimura and the others who were hiding in the alley on the other side of the bridge waved. Kimura was taken aback. How did Asaba know they were here? But Kimura looked at Naoko, who was still dressed boldly today, and walked out of the alley with a few younger brothers with a smile, and came to Asaba and Naoko's side. Asaba said, "These are my friends." Kimura Asunoko winked and said, "Beauty, my name is Kimura, how are you?" Naoko suppressed the nausea and killing intent in her heart, and replied with a smile, "Hello. My name is Naoko." Kimura said to Asaba, "Didn't you say you have something to do today? Go ahead and do some work, we will treat Miss Naoko well for you." Asaba felt that Kimura and the others were not as good as him in Reiatsu, and naturally planned to take revenge today. Asaba was about to say that he was not busy and could go together. But Naoko was the first to speak. "Little brother, won't you go together? People are coming for you. If you don't go, then I won't go either." Asaba heard the words and clenched the katana in his hand. After Kimura appeared, Asaba sensed killing intent in Naoko. Asaba knows. Kimura and the others want to do whatever they want with Naoko in the wild. Naoko wanted to kill Kimura and others in the wild. Now, Naoko insists that Asaba go with him. In other words, Naoko planned to kill Asaba together. Since Naoko deliberately attracted Kimura's attention, she should know that Asaba was forced. Even so, Naoko plans to kill Asaba together. This is something that Asaba didn't expect. If he knew it earlier, he continued to hide from the sword to become stronger, and he was not in a hurry to come to Kimura and others to settle accounts. 2 hours later, Kimura took Asaba and Naoko to the field east of West Rukongai. There is a small lake here with very clear water. The lake is full of grass, and the grass is very green. The lake was filled with blue sky and white clouds, and there was an occasional breeze. There is also a small forest by the lake, and birds pass by from time to time over the forest. Asaba feels that the scenery here is really good, and Kimura really knows where to work. Feng shui is also good here, and it is suitable for Kimura and others to sleep here. After arriving at the place, Kimura and the others didn't wait for Asaba to act, but they didn't pretend, and went straight to the showdown. Kimura gave the little brothers a wink, and the little gangsters immediately surrounded Asaba with him. Kimura looked at Asaba disdainfully. "Kid, give me back the samurai sword." Asaba said, "Isn't this samurai sword my reward for helping you? Why should I pay you back?" Lousy has now backed out. Directly tore the skin. In this case, Asaba stopped pretending, and Asaba pulled out the samurai sword and pointed the blade at Kimura. "If you want to get back the samurai sword, get it yourself." Looking for death. Kimura's eyes turned fierce. "Do it, make him." The gangsters immediately pulled out the various weapons they were carrying and rushed towards Asaba. Asaba glanced at Naoko and found Naoko standing beside him with arms crossed and sneering. This woman, very good. Asaba Reiatsu is stronger than Kimura and others, but this is the first time that Asaba has experienced such a life-threatening fight, and Asaba can't use Reiatsu to fight. Coupled with the fact that Kimura and others had an advantage in numbers, they who came to Rukongai early had a wealth of fighting experience. Soon, Asaba was wounded, more and more wounds. But Kimura and others are also uncomfortable. One of the gangsters had been beheaded by Asaba, and Kimura and others were injured to varying degrees. "Boss, why is this kid so troublesome? Shit, must kill him. On lousy." Kimura and others are just Rukongai's gangsters, and they are naturally extremely poor in terms of Reiatsu perception. Kimura had been dazzled by beauty before, and after a fight with Asaba, he realized that Asaba's Reiatsu was above him. Naoko is still watching the play with her arms in her arms. Her eyes are full of jokes, and it seems that it is not bad to watch dogs bite dogs and kill each other instead of taking revenge with her own hands. In the Shinigami world, fighting is mainly based on Reiatsu. At this moment, Reiatsu's gap is reflected. Relying on Reiatsu's advantage, Asaba beheaded Kimura and several of his gangsters. Asaba himself was not feeling well. At this time, his whole body was stained red with blood, including his own and Kimura and others. "Are you okay?" Asaba asked as he slowly walked towards Naoko. Naoko looked at Asaba, who was seriously injured, in surprise. "Are you caring about me?" "Yeah, after all, you are here because of me. If you have an accident because of me, I will be uneasy." Asaba is now seriously injured, and Naoko's Reiatsu is above Asaba. Asaba wanted to let Naoko relax his vigilance, and when he got close to Naoko, he suddenly gave her a fatal blow. Naoko didn't know Asaba's true thoughts, and thought that Asaba was really guilty of helping Kimura and others to invite her here. Naoko felt a little guilty about trying to kill Asaba before. However, she didn't apologize to Asaba, but after nodding to Asaba, she quickly disappeared from Asaba's field of vision. Asaba looked at Naoko's back, and couldn't understand. Didn't Naoko want to kill him together? "Why did you leave?" No matter why Naoko didn't act on him, Asaba knew that he couldn't stay here for long. Asaba walked through the woods and went west until he was exhausted and fell to the ground. When Asaba woke up, he was already lying in an unfamiliar room. Asaba was covered in bandages, only his eyes were exposed. Asaba knew that someone picked him up and helped him treat his injuries. "Yo, are you awake? It's good to be young. You've been injured so badly, and you've recovered so quickly." Asaba heard the sound and looked towards the door, only to see a woman leaning against the door smoking a cigarette. Asaba recognized each other at a glance. Isn't this the contemporary head of the declining Shiba family, Shiba Sora? Shiba Sora knocked the cigarette rod on the door, put it out and put it behind his back. Shiba Sora came to the bed where Asaba was lying, stared at Asaba and asked questions. Hey, why did you keep staring at me and didn't speak? Did you get beaten up? Ooh, Shiba Kong looked at Asaba, whose mouth was covered with bandages. A blush flashed on his face, but he quickly returned to normal. She squeezed her left hand into a fist, and said with a tone of hatred for iron and steel, that stinky boy of Ganji is so careless. Don't worry, when the boy comes back, I will teach him a good lesson. Shiba Ganju, who was hanging out with his younger brother in Rukongai, sneezed. Who cursed me? In fact, Asaba's injury was handled by Shiba Kong himself, and the bandage on Asaba's body was wrapped by Shiba Kong himself. Asaba has wounds all over his body and needs to remove all clothing when healing. Shiba Sora didn't want Asaba to think too much, so he didn't tell the truth. 3 days later, Asaba's injuries are almost healed, thanks to a special ointment from Shiba's family. Thank you Shiba Senpai. Shiba Senpai, am I very old? Miss Shiba, call me Miss Kong. Thank you Miss Kong for saving me and helping me heal. Asaba's words are true. This is the 43rd district of Rukongai. Asaba passed out in the wild. During Asaba's coma, God knows what will happen. For example, Asaba has no idea when he was picked up by Shiba Kong. Shiba Kong felt a little guilty, turned around and dared not face Asaba's sincere thanks. Lu Jian is not flat and draws a knife to help. This is the consistent style of my Shiba family. You don't have to thank me. The reason why Shiba Kong picked up Asaba was because she accidentally injured Asaba in a coma when she went to the wild for a high-risk blasting test, almost killing Asaba. Otherwise, no matter how badly Asaba was injured, he wouldn't have any reaction during the period. Now that my injury has recovered, then I will leave first. I will definitely repay Miss Kong when I have a chance in the future. Asaba, do you have no family in Rukongai? Asaba shook his head. Then you can stay at my house and leave when you find a family you can trust. After the rectification of the present world arrives in Rukongai, it is almost impossible to see their relatives or acquaintances in the present world. For a better life, people form new families in Rukongai with people they can trust and live together. Then thank you Miss Kong. It would be great to live in Shiba's house. In the days that followed, Asaba began to draw his sword and become stronger. At the beginning, Shiba Sora was puzzled by Asaba's foolishness to draw his sword every day. However, she soon discovers that Asaba's Reiatsu keeps getting stronger as Asaba keeps drawing his sword. In response, Shiba Sora asked Asaba how he did it. Asaba told Shiba Sora truthfully, just concentrate on drawing the knife. Shiba Sora naturally didn't believe it, thinking that Asaba didn't want to reveal the way to become stronger, so he didn't continue to ask. Asaba's 10th day at Shiba's house. Asaba was in the woods next to Shiba's house, concentrating on drawing his sword. Suddenly, Asaba sensed an unfamiliar Reiatsu rapidly approaching here. After a few minutes, a man riding a wild boar appeared in Asaba's field of vision. Asaba recognized each other at a glance. Shiba Gansu. Asaba waved to Shiba Ganju. Polly, stop. Shiba Griffin took control of the seated mount and stopped in front of Asaba, picking up a puff of dust. Polly is the name of the wild boar under Shiba's Griffin. After Asaba swept away the dust, Shiba Gansu was staring at him with a wary expression. Who are you? Why are you near my house? Tell me quickly, are you conspiring to do something wrong? Asaba was stunned. Didn't Shiba Ganju help him treat and bandage the wound? Even if you don't see it for 10 days, you shouldn't be completely unrecognizable. It's me, you have bandaged my wound for 10 days. Nonsense, 10 days ago, I was taking my younger brother to clean up the mess in Rukongai. I didn't help anyone bandage the wound. Asaba immediately understood that the person who helped Asaba to heal at that time was Shiba Sora. Didn't Shiba Kong see him completely? Ganchuri, are you back? Sister. Shiba Gansu first waved to Shiba Kong who was walking towards him, then glared at Asaba and said, why don't you get out of here? Shiba Kong came over and said to Asaba, Asaba, go ahead, this is my brother, others are a bit stupid, don't mind. After Shiba Sora finished speaking, he turned around and put on a serious face and glared at Shiba Ganju, covered Shiba's mouth, and dragged the bewildered Shiba Ganju away. Asaba knew that Shiba Sora was trying to cover up the fact that she was helping him heal, and he shook his head without revealing it. Call. After Asaba took a deep breath, he continued to concentrate and draw his sword to become stronger. When Asaba was in Karakura town, he learned that Rukia Kuchiki had just been dispatched to Karakura town. In other words, there are less than 2 months before the main story begins. If Asaba wants to participate, he must become strong enough within these 2 months, at least at the level of a vice captain. Now, what Asaba has to do is race against time. Draw the knife, keep drawing the knife. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu +1. With Reiatsu's enhancement, Asaba can now draw up to 10 times a minute while still concentrating. 5 days later, successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu +1. Host successfully draws his sword 100,000 times, and gets an additional reward for drawing his sword, Reiatsu Loader. System, what is a Reiatsu weight? After the host wears the Reiatsu weight loader, most of the Reiatsu increased by drawing the sword will be absorbed by the Reiatsu weight loader. When the Reiatsu absorbed by the Reiatsu weight loader reaches a certain amount, the host will receive 3 times the reward every time he draws his sword. 3 times the reward, that is to say, every time Asaba draws the sword, the reward is equivalent to drawing the sword 3 times. How many times do I need to draw the knife to activate the double effect after I wear the Reiatsu weight? Please host to explore by yourself. A string of black lines appeared on Asaba's head. After the host activates the triple effect, the Reiatsu loader will continue to absorb the increased Reiatsu from the host's sword. Isn't that a big loss? If you just start to absorb Asaba's increased Reiatsu to unlock triple rewards. After Asaba turned on the triple reward, he could quickly compensate by drawing a knife, and then turn on the Reiatsu soaring mode. After the triple reward is turned on, the Reiatsu weight loader will continue to absorb Reiatsu, which is too pitiful. When the host removes the Reiatsu loader, it will return all absorbed Reiatsu, but the Reiatsu loader will be invalid. Will the full Reiatsu be returned when I remove the Reiatsu weight? That's not bad. The Reiatsu weight loaders will become ineffective as long as they are removed, which means that the later the Asaba is brought on, the greater the benefits. System, take out the Reiatsu weight. Successful removal. Asaba has a white bracelet in his hand, and Asaba knows that this is the Reiatsu weight carrier. After Asaba wears the white bracelet on his left hand, the white bracelet becomes transparent and then disappears directly. Not only is it invisible to the naked eye, but even Asaba himself cannot touch it. System, what's going on? Why is the Reiatsu weight carrier missing? The Reiatsu controller is successfully worn, and when the host needs to be removed, just call the system to cancel it. I see. Asaba took a deep breath, then concentrated on pulling out the katana. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu +0.3. Hiss. 70% of the Reiatsu reward obtained by drawing the sword was absorbed by the Reiatsu loader. Asaba continued to draw his sword and strive to open the triple reward early. After Asaba drew his sword 100,000 times, Reiatsu was infinitely close to the level of a normal soldier of the Gotei 13th Division, which was the level of Naoko Reiatsu he had seen before. Night. Asaba and Shiba siblings eat together. Shiba Ganju held a chicken leg in his mouth. Asaba, don't you feel bored when you go out early and come back late every day to draw a knife in the woods? To get stronger, it's nothing. Asaba, are you so obsessed with becoming stronger? Shiba Sora asked. I don't know why. Shiba Sora Suru sees Asaba working so hard every day, and feels a little distressed. If you don't get stronger, you will be bullied by the strong. I'm not obsessed with getting stronger, I just don't want to be bullied. That day, if Naoko Aizin is going to kill Asaba. Asaba doesn't know if he's still alive now. To avoid a similar situation from happening again, Asaba knew he had to get stronger. Eat, eat, eat. You know how to eat, and you don't know how to learn from Asaba. Shiba Sora slapped Shiba Gansu's hand away from the chicken leg that was left. Asaba, come, you eat. Asaba looked at the drumsticks Shiba Kong put into his bowl. Thank you, Miss Kong. Shiba Ganju grappled with the rice. Night. Shiba Sora called Shiba Ganju aside. Ganchuri, from tomorrow onwards, don't go out, stay home and teach Asaba Kido and our Shiba's spells. Shiba Sora is a Kido master, and Shiba Gansu's Kido is not bad either. At the same time, the Shiba family also has ancestral spells. For example, the flower crane shooting method that can break through the soul-shrouding membrane formed by the murderous stone above Seraiti. Such as Shiba Ganju's stone wave and other skills. Sister, it's fine for me to teach Asaba Kido, but how can the spells of our Shiba family be easily passed on to an outsider like Asaba? You know, even the two current slaves of the Shiba family, Jinyan and Yinyan, who have been serving the Shiba brothers and sisters, are not qualified to learn their Shiba family spells. Bang! Shiba Sokaku punched Shiba Gansu on the head. Shiba Ganjian burst into tears with pain, and an exaggerated sack appeared on his head. We Shiba are just you and me, aren't you afraid that someday when we both die, our Shiba's spells will be lost? When Shiba Ganju returned to his own room, he tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He kept thinking about Shiba Sora's words. Suddenly, Shiba Sora sat up. I know, my sister wants Asaba to join the family and spread the branches and leaves for our Shiba family. If Asaba is married, he will naturally marry Shiba Kong. No, Asaba is good, but not worthy of my sister. Only someone as good as my brother is worthy of my sister. I have to figure out a way to send Asaba away. Shiba Ganju lay down with a smile after thinking about the news he had inquired at Rukongai the other day. He thought of a way to send Asaba away. Early the next morning, after Asaba and the Shiba siblings had breakfast together, Shiba Kong said, Asaba, don't go to the woods today to draw your knife, Ganju has something to do with you. Seeing that Shiba Ganju didn't respond, Shiba Kuzuru kicked him. Shiba Ganju hurriedly said, Yes, Asaba, I have something to do with you today. Oh well. Morning. Shiba Ganju took Asaba, and the two of them rode a boar each, and walked in the direction of Seraiti. Shiba Gansu stopped until they reached the Beidao gate on West 1st Street. The white door was half open. In addition to the Beidaemon's guard at the gate, Yishin Bansi Danfang, there is also Shinigami wearing a Death Tyrant costume to help guard here. Ganchuri, what did you bring me here for? Shiba Ganju took Asaba to the notice posted next to Beidaemon, pointed at the notice and said, Did you see it? These days are the days for the registration of the True Spirit Academy. Asaba, don't you want to become stronger? The Shinigami Academy is a place for training Shinigami. As long as you pass the entrance exam, you will get professional training in slashing fists and walking ghosts, which is much better than drawing your own sword, so my sister asked me to bring you to sign up. Asaba thought for a while, and felt that Shiba Gansu had a point. Although he can become stronger by drawing his sword, only Reiatsu can be strengthened, but he will not use Reiatsu. The so-called slashing fists and walking ghosts is actually the use of Reiatsu. Shiba Gansu was afraid that Asaba would not sign up, and continued. As long as you get into the Shinigami Academy, you will have the opportunity to become a Shinigami. At that time, Asaba, you can live in Seraiti without worrying about being bullied. Ganju, thank you for bringing me here. You go back and thank Miss Kong for taking care of me these days. I will definitely repay when I have the opportunity in the future. Shiba Ganju knew that Asaba had agreed. Fearing that Asaba would go back, he pushed Asaba towards Seraiti. After arriving at the door of Beidaemon, Shinigami at the door stopped Asaba and Shiba Gansu. What are you doing? Shiba Gansu said, My friend wants to apply for the True Spirit Academy. Shinigami, who opened his mouth, sensed it and found that both Asaba and Shiba Gansu's Reiatsu were good. You can go in. After Asaba walked towards the white gate, Shinigami who opened his mouth looked at Shiba Gansu. Your Reiatsu is much stronger than your friend, aren't you going to apply for the True Spiritual Academy? Shiba Gansu saw that Asaba had already entered the Beidao gate, turned and left, ignoring Shinigami who spoke. Since the accident of Shiba Gansu's older brother Shiba Kyan, Shiba Gansu has had a big prejudice against Seraiti's Shinigami. This person, Shinigami at the door of Beidaemon shook his head as he watched Shiba Gansu leave. Since Shiba Gansu has no interest in himself, this Shinigami will naturally not force Shiba Gansu. These few days are the registration days for the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy, in order to attract people who come to sign up in Rukongai. Not only has the Beidaemon been kept half open for the past few days, but after entering the Betamin, all the way to the registration office of the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts, there are signs posted. According to these signs, Asaba walked more than 100 meters to the west and turned into an alley. The registration point for the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy is located here. There are 3 long tables here. There was a long queue in front of each long table. Behind the long table was a 6th-year student in the school uniform of the True Spirit Academy. As usual, the 6th graders are in charge of every job that leads to admissions. Of course, the real admission assessment is still the responsibility of the Academy's assessment officer. Asaba picked a line that seemed to have the fewest people and started queuing. After half an hour, it was finally Asaba's turn. The female student in charge of registration looked at Asaba for a moment, and Asaba looked at the other side for a moment. The female student is Naoko, whom Asaba had met before. Naoko took off her heavy makeup at this time, and put on the dignified Mao School of Spiritual Arts uniform. And the enchanting appearance that Asaba saw in Rukongai before, they are completely 2 people. If Asaba hadn't sensed that Naoko's Reiatsu was familiar, he wouldn't have recognized her. Both Naoko and Asaba pretended not to recognize each other. After all, they both wanted to kill each other. Registered, you take this sign and go to the test field over there, and someone there will guide you how to do it. After Asaba took the wooden sign and left, Naoko was shocked when she saw the back of Asaba leaving. It's only been 10 days since she hadn't seen her, and she felt that Asaba's Reiatsu was about to surpass her. Asaba, how did you do it? Asaba comes to the testing ground. I found that there were a lot of people here, and everyone gathered around the center of the test field. There are people who, like Asaba, are from Rukongai at a glance, and there are nobles who wear luxurious clothes and are obviously living in Seraiti. These nobles do not need to go to the registration office to line up to sign up, they use noble privileges. They only need to ask the family to report to the academy, and then they can get the registration card directly. Of course, even aristocrats need to pass the entrance examination before they can enter the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts. Mu Jai, Zhongzi, step forward to take the test. The 2 whose names were called came to the center of the test field, and under the guidance of the test officer, put their hands on a special device that could test Reiatsu. Kizai, Reiatsu 8, etc., unfortunately, did not meet the admission standards, please come again next time. Muzai left the test field in disappointment. Zhongzi, Reiatsu 6, etc., meet the admission standards, go in and take the written test. Zhongzi was so excited that he almost ran into the back of the test field. There is a written examination room. The Reiatsu test device in front of the examiner divides the tester's Reiatsu into 10 grades. The 10th is the weakest and the 1st is the strongest. Reiatsu 6, etc., are the admission criteria for the True Spiritual Arts Academy. Reiatsu 5, etc., are equivalent to general team members. Reiatsu 4, etc., is equivalent to a seat officer. Reiatsu 3, etc., equivalent to the vice captain. Reiatsu 2, etc., are equivalent to general captains. Reiatsu 1, etc., equivalent to super captain. It is said, since the opening of the True Spirit Academy, at the time of the entrance test, first-class Reiatsu has not been tested. About an hour later, the examiner finally called out Asaba's name. Asaba, Michiko Ono. Asaba and a woman named Michiko Ono arrive at the Reiatsu test facility. The examiner said, put your hand on it and release Reiatsu with all your strength to complete the test. Ono, you come first. Michiko Ono put her hands on the device nervously, and started to release Reiatsu with all her might. Michiko Ono, Reiatsu 7, etc. I'm sorry, come back next time. It's your turn. Asaba nodded, then put his hand up, and released Reiatsu with all his strength. There was a splendid look in the assessment officer's eyes. Asaba, Reiatsu 5, etc., congratulations on passing the assessment, let's go to the back hall to participate in the competition. Asaba walked into the back of the test field under the envious eyes of people in the yard. Asaba's assessment results were not outstanding. The reason why the assessor was surprised was that Asaba was born in Rukongai. People born in Rukongai have little spiritual power and low Reiatsu. When the people from Rukongai came to participate in the assessment, Reiatsu rarely had a grade above 5. The children of nobles are born with more spiritual power than ordinary people, Reiatsu who is stronger than ordinary people. Therefore, in the entrance test, the grades of the noble children are generally better than those from Rukongai. Of course, this is only the entrance test score, and does not determine subsequent achievements. Both spiritual power and Reiatsu can be sharpened and improved through continuous exercise. The nobles just have an innate advantage, it does not mean that they will be stronger than the Rukongai people in the future. Asaba came to the written examination room in the back hall. The examiner in the written test room said, "Give me the wooden sign." After Asaba handed the wooden card to the other party handed Asaba a paper. Submit the paper within 1 hour. Asaba took the paper and found a Karakura seat to sit down. Part of the question on the discovery paper is the history of the Soul Society, such as who established the True Spirit Academy, how many years ago was established, and so on. The other part is value orientation, such as what should Shinigami do in the face of Seraiti's enemies. After 30 minutes, Asaba answered all the questions and handed in the paper. Those students who arrived here first were a little surprised to see Asaba handing in the papers so quickly. Which of them doesn't want more time, so as to try to answer more questions correctly and get a higher written test score? What these people don't know is that in fact, as long as they pass the Reiatsu test, they can enter the True Spirit Academy. The results of the Reiatsu test will determine the subsequent placement. The classes of the True Spiritual Arts Academy are divided into ordinary classes and special classes. There is only one special entry class, and those who can enter the special entry class are highly talented students. Students in the special class will enjoy better teacher resources than the ordinary class. After the written test examiner put away Asaba's paper, he directly returned the wooden sign to Asaba. Take it to the new student registration office of the True Spiritual Arts Academy. This move of the written test examiner further proves that the written test is actually a passing scene. 2 hours later, Asaba came to the gate of the True Spiritual Arts Academy. After showing the wooden sign, Asaba was allowed to enter the academy. Signs to the freshman registration office are also posted throughout the college. 10 minutes later, Asaba found the freshman registry. The person in charge of the registration was an old man. After he helped Asaba to register the results recorded on the wooden card, he waved to a woman wearing the school uniform of the True Spirit Academy next to him. The girl, like Naoko who was in charge of registration at the registration office, is the 6th grader who is in charge of guiding the new students this time. The old man handed a form to the girl. He was assigned to Class 1, take him to collect school uniforms and dormitory supplies. Okay, Akamoto-sensei. On the way to the school uniform room, the woman and Asaba walked side by side, and she looked at Asaba's young and beautiful face and became a nympho. Asaba, my name is Miko, you are welcome to join the True Spirit Academy. Asaba's name was learned by Miko after reading the report in her hand. Asaba smiled and said, Miko-senpai is good. Miko shook her head. Don't call me senior, just call me Miko-senpai, or Miko. Okay, Miko-senpai. Miko took Asaba to the dormitory after receiving the school uniform and dormitory supplies. Mizi was lying in front of the dormitory's window. Hello Koizumi-sensei. Oh, it's Miko, have you brought a new student here again? Yes, Koizumi-sensei, is there a single room? There is only one single room left. Mr. Koizumi, Asaba has a more introverted personality, you can give him this single room. Mizi said, blinking her big eyes. Since Mizi has spoken, give it to him, come, this is the key. That's all. Asaba's dormitory has changed from the original quadruple room to a single room. Thank you, Miko-senpai. If you really want to thank me, treat me to dinner if you have the chance. I'm a 6th grader in ordinary class 3. Miko gave Asaba a wink before leaving. Asaba is happy to have a single room. In this way, he can draw a knife in the dormitory and become stronger. After Shiba Ganju returned to Shiba's house, he told Shiba Sora that Asaba didn't want to learn Shiba's spells, but wanted to go to the True Spiritual Arts Academy to learn the specialty of Zonquan. Shiba Sora didn't doubt Shiba Gansu's words. Since Asaba wants to be Shinigami, let him go. Sister, aren't you worried that Asaba won't pass the test? Asaba's Reiatsu has reached the level of an ordinary member of the 13th Division, and there is no problem in being admitted to the True Spiritual Arts Academy. Do not know why. Shiba Sora was a little disappointed when he learned that Asaba had left. There are still 3 days left until the registration of the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts ends. 3 days later, the True Spirit Academy will hold a freshman opening ceremony, and then Asaba and other freshmen will officially start classes. These 3 days, Asaba has been staying in the dormitory drawing a knife. Third night, a beep sounded in Asaba's head. The Reiatsu absorbed by the Reiatsu loader meets the requirements, and the triple sword drawing reward is opened. Asaba is delighted. Has it met the requirements? Asaba took a deep breath, then concentrated on pulling out the katana. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Okay, what happened? Didn't you turn on the triple draw bonus? Asaba tried again. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. System, isn't the triple reward for drawing swords turned on? Why do I only add 0.3 Reiatsu every time I draw a sword? The extra knife drawing reward that host obtained through the Reiatsu weight loader is directly absorbed by the Reiatsu weight loader. Well, since it will be returned, then absorb it. Asaba just needs to be sure that there is a triple reward. Thus, Asaba might be able to raise his strength to the level of a general captain before the Aizen Sosuke conspiracy is launched. In that way, Asaba can be regarded as having a certain amount of strength capital. That night, all freshmen received news that at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, they will go to the central square of the True Spiritual Academy to participate in the opening ceremony of the freshmen. A girls' dormitory in grade 6 general class 3. Miko hugged Naoko and said, "Naoko, tomorrow morning is the opening ceremony of the freshmen. Come with me to watch the ceremony. I have a kendo class tomorrow morning." "Oh, we are almost graduating, it's just a kendo class, it doesn't matter if we don't take it." Naoko smiled and said, "Don't you want to meet the freshman you told me before?" Mizi nodded. "Yes, he is my new target." A string of black lines appeared on Naoko's head. "Didn't you just break up with your third grader? You have a new goal so soon?" "That's a thing of the past, and of course I want to pursue new goals." "Don't you always let the other party chase you? Why are you so active this time?" Mizi said, "I have already given him a hint to invite me to dinner, but he is too young and doesn't seem to understand what I mean, so I had to take the initiative." Miko said, thinking of Asaba's young and beautiful face in her mind, she was crazy. During the nearly 6 years she has been at the True Spiritual Academy, she has changed countless boyfriends. But she hadn't tasted Asaba so young. Asaba, looks like he's only a teenager. The next morning, Naoko and Miko came to the central square of the True Spiritual Arts Academy together. Miko knew Asaba's class information, so she quickly found Asaba in the queue of the regular first class. "Naoko, look, that's the freshman I've been eyeing. How is it, isn't it tender?" I don't know how Asaba knew how he would feel when he was judged to be very tender. After Naoko looked at the person Miko was pointing at, she was a little taken aback. "What happened to you, Naoko? Don't you like him too? Let me tell you, he was the one I liked first. Even if you were my best friend, I wouldn't let it go to you." Naoko said, "Miko, if you don't really like Asaba and just want to play, I advise you not to provoke Asaba." "How did you know his name was Asaba? I didn't tell you." Naoko said, "Do you remember the person I told you before that I met when I went to Rukongai to avenge my sister?" "Ah, is he the one who killed all the bullies who bullied your sister?" Naoko nodded, thinking that Miko was about to give up. But seeing the nympho in Mizi's eyes is even stronger. He is so powerful, his future must be limitless, I must catch him, this is a potential stock. Naoko was very speechless, but she knew Miko's character, and what Miko believed in her heart, the 9 cows couldn't pull it back, so Naoko didn't persuade her anymore, but she was full of worry. The opening ceremony of the new students officially started. The Dean of the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy took the stage to speak on behalf of all the teachers of the academy. "Freshmen, first of all, congratulations and welcome to your admission to the True Spirit Academy. Since Captain Yamamoto Genryusai founded the True Spiritual Art Academy for 2,000 years, our academy has been shouldering the responsibility of nurturing the future Kido, Secret Power Squad, and Gotei 13 talents. The more than 6,300 team members and captains of the 13th chapter of Gotei are almost all talents cultivated by our true spiritual arts academy. I hope you will follow their example and study the professional skills of the academy for you, such as slashing fists and walking ghosts, and strive to graduate from the academy with excellent grades, and then join the Gotei 13th and become the Shinigami who guards Seraiti. The college has set up a total of 6 years of courses for you, but the college allows and encourages outstanding students to graduate early. After the dean finished speaking, the teacher representative came to the stage to give a speech, mainly about the various rules of the true Central Academy of Spiritual Arts, which made Asaba dozed off. Why can't teachers change their long-winded habit when they come to the stage to speak, no matter which world they are in? Just when Asaba was about to fall asleep, the opening ceremony for the freshmen finally came to an end. The teachers of their respective classes returned to the classroom with the students in their classes. The teacher of the special entry class took the students from the special entry class directly to Hazama. In addition to holding the opening ceremony for freshmen today, freshmen will be organized to obtain sealed state according to the order of the class. The first to go to the narrow room to choose the sealed state was the freshman of the special class. Normal Class 1 classroom. Today is the first time we meet, let's introduce ourselves. All come first. After the teacher coughed, he continued, "My name is Takagi Kai, and I'm your teacher in charge of the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy for the past 6 years. You can just call me Takagi-sensei." The teacher in charge, Takagi Kawai, is actually equivalent to a counselor in a university. Then, let's start introducing ourselves according to the seating order. Asaba didn't remember the names and hobbies of these classmates. Asaba planned to graduate early from the academy before Aizen Sosuke's mutiny, and he was destined to not spend long with these people. Asaba sensed it and found that the reiatsu of these students were all between 6th and 5th. Unless they also have a system, it is impossible to graduate early with Asaba. After introducing yourself, Takagi Y said, "I selected 10 team leaders based on your admission test scores, and then divided you into 10 groups. In the future, the assessment of your 6 years of study will be conducted in this grouping format." Then, Kazuki Takagi announced the names of 10 team leaders, and the members of each team leader. Asaba is a member of Group 7. Originally, with Asaba's reiatsu test results, it was enough to be a team leader. However, Asaba's written test scores were very poor. Although the results of the written test had no effect on Asaba's admission, it did affect Asaba's ranking in the class. Of course, Asaba didn't care about being the team leader. It's better not to be the leader, and Asaba has more time to draw his sword and become stronger. I'll inform the team leader of the meeting time for Hazama in a while, and then the team leaders will organize the team members to meet in Hazama. Now let's move freely. After Asaba walked out of the classroom, she found Miko and Naoko standing not far away and waving at her. Asaba walked over. The leader of the 7th group of ordinary class 1 is named Nobita Ito. He saw that Asaba was very familiar with the 2 beautiful seniors, so he followed Asaba over. "Hello 2 seniors, I'm the team leader of Asaba, nice to meet you." Naoko ignored Nobita Ito. Miko directly grabbed Asaba's sleeve and walked to the side. After being ignored by the 2 beautiful seniors in his eyes, Nobita Ito felt very ashamed. He looked at the backs of Asaba and Miko leaving, and clenched his fists. "Asaba, you wait for me." Nobita Ito did not dare to offend Miko and Naoko, who were in the 6th grade, so he put his resentment on Asaba. Miko stared at Asaba curiously. "Asaba, 10 days ago, was reiatsu really so weak that he could barely perceive it?" Asaba glanced at Naoko and knew that Naoko told Miko these things. Yes, there were little stars in Mizi's eyes. "Oh my god, you are so amazing, how did you do it?" "I can get stronger by drawing a knife." "Cut, only ghosts believe you." Asaba is speechless, why does he tell the truth but no one believes him? Asaba was dragged by Miko and kept chatting. Soon, the time passed almost an hour. Nobita Ito, the leader of the 7th group of the freshman general class 1, ran over with the sealed state in his hand. Nobita Ito's eyes flashed a smile of successful conspiracy, and then he pretended to be anxious and said to Asaba, "Asaba, why are you still here? After seeing the sealed state in Nobita Ito's hands, Asaba had already guessed it. Asaba, now it's our class's turn to choose the sealed state, why didn't you go to meet in front of Hazama? Asaba ignored Nobita Ito and ran towards Hazama with all his strength. Oh, Asaba is really, in order to chat with you two beauties, even the important thing of choosing a sealed state in a narrow room has been delayed. Didn't you, the team leader, come to inform Asaba? Really, maybe I forgot. Miko and Naoko ignored Nobita Ito, who was eccentric, and ran towards Hayama with Asaba. When Asaba arrived in front of Haza, the teacher of ordinary class 1, Takagi Kaoru said, Asaba, what are you doing? There is only 1 minute left for our class to select the sealed state. Sorry, I'll go in right now. Asaba ran into the narrow room. The ordinary class 1 freshmen holding the sealed state in their hands are all talking about it. Asaba is finished, he definitely won't be able to choose the most suitable sealed state for him in 1 minute. Maybe he is lucky and can choose a powerful sealed state. Cut, 1 minute is enough for him to run to the door, right? Ha ha ha, the sealed state at the door, I don't know how long it has been there, and no one has chosen it. It must be a very weak one. It's a pity, it is a pity that Asaba chooses that sealed state, and he will never be able to release his real name for the rest of his life. After Miko and Naoko heard these remarks, there was a bit of guilt on their faces. If it weren't for the two of them, Asaba would definitely not miss the sealed state selection time. Nobita Ito came to the two girls and said, after the sealed state is selected by us, it will always accompany us. The ability of the sealed state will almost determine our future achievements as Shinigami. Zzz, Asaba is really brave. For the sake of women, he doesn't even care about his own future. It seems that he really likes the two senior sisters. Although Miko ignored Nobita Ito, she kept thinking about Nobita Ito's words in her mind. She also felt that Asaba's future was over. Maybe Asaba wouldn't be able to graduate from the True Spirit Academy at all. Even if Asaba can graduate, he will definitely not be able to enter Gotei 13th and become Shinigami. Miko, who originally planned to catch up with Asaba and slowly cultivate it, saw that Asaba's future had lost its light, so she naturally gave up this plan. In Miko's view, instead of wasting time on Asaba, who is doomed to have no future, it is better to find a new potential target. Brush. Asaba appeared in the square in front of the shadow, and Asaba held a handful of sealed state in his hand. It was time for Hazama to open this time, so Asaba was pushed out by Hazama and sent out. The freshman quickly recognized that the sealed state in Asaba's hand was the sealed state at the entrance that had been there for an unknown time. Nobita Ito came to Asaba and said loudly, Asaba, you really are, how can you give up your future for the sake of women? Now, you have chosen a sealed state, and you will also become a waste. Quote. Asaba said, I don't know if I will become a waste, but I know that you who only play small tricks are destined to be a waste. You. Nobita Ito stared at Asaba angrily. Takagi Y, the teacher of Class 1, said, okay, the freshmen of Class 2 will be here soon. Each team leader should bring his team members back. I will inform the team leader of your class time tomorrow. The team leader will remember organize your own team members to attend classes at designated places on time. Nobita Ito said, Asaba, if you want to spend the 6 years at the True Spiritual Academy smoothly, you'd better please me now, otherwise. Asaba ignored Nobita Ito who threatened him, and walked directly to the dormitory holding the sealed state. Nobita Ito blushed with anger. He wanted to rush up to teach Asaba a lesson, but he laughed when he thought that Asaba had chosen the most useless sealed state and would continue to be bullied by him using his position as the team leader. Asaba, wait, I'll make you kneel and beg me. Ha ha ha. Miko catches up with Asaba. Asaba, I'm sorry, it's all my fault for dragging you to chat. Asaba looked at the sealed state in his hand and said, it's alright, I already got the sealed state. But you don't have time to choose the most suitable sealed state for you. This sealed state is the one at the door. This sealed state has not been selected for many years. It must be a waste. Asaba said, every sealed state has infinite possibilities. The ability of the sealed state is not determined by the sealed state itself, but by the soul injected by the owner who chooses it. Miko spent 6 years at the True Spiritual Art Academy. As far as she knows, which students choose the sealed state, they are not careful and prudent, in order to choose the most suitable sealed state for themselves, or choose the strongest sealed state. As for Asaba's theory, Miko had never heard of it. So, Miko decided that Asaba was comforting herself. Asaba, in order to compensate you, I'll treat you to dinner. Miko has already made a decision. After she invites Asaba to have a meal, she will ignore Asaba, which is her compensation to Asaba. Of course, Miko didn't think it was her fault, but Asaba offended the team leader to end up like this. Asaba said, "Thank you Miko-senpai for your kindness, but I'm not hungry now. Next time I have a chance, I'll invite Miko-senpai." After Asaba finished speaking, he went straight back to the dormitory. This time, Miko did not catch up. Naoko looked at the back of Asaba's departure and hesitated. She also felt that Asaba's future was over, and she knew Miko very well, knowing that Miko had given up Asaba. Naoko felt that Miko was a bit too much. She clearly caused Asaba to miss the sealed state selection time, but now she has directly abandoned Asaba. But, Miko is Naoko's best friend, she just thinks Miko is too much, but she won't stand on Asaba's side and accuse Miko. After Asaba separated from Miko and Naoko, instead of going back to the dormitory, he went to the scabbard room of the academy. The sealed state selected from the narrow space has no scabbard. Freshmen who get the sealed state can go to the scabbard room and choose the scabbard. The sealed state chosen by the students of the True Spirit Academy is only temporarily borrowed. Only after officially joining Gotei 13 will they be officially awarded. After Shinigami liberates Zanpakuto's real name, the sealed state will change into Zanpakuto with a slightly different style from the sealed state according to the soul injected by Shinigami. After joining Gotei 13, there will be someone specializing in Shinigami, who liberates Zanpakuto's real name, to create an exclusive scabbard. Knowing this, Asaba went to the scabbard room and picked a random scabbard before returning to the dormitory. When Asaba returned to his single-person dorm, he threw the katana aside. Starting today, Asaba doesn't need a katana sword. Asaba will use the sealed state to draw the sword and become stronger. But, Asaba did not rush to use the sealed state to draw the knife, but sat cross-legged on the bed. The sealed state was placed horizontally on both knees by Asaba, holding the end of the sealed state knife with one hand and the knife with the other. Then, Asaba closed his eyes and began to concentrate, trying to get his mind into the sealed state. This is Dao Zen. Generally speaking, after a Shinigami gets the sealed state, he needs to accompany it for a long time, and let his soul merge with it before he can enter the sword Zen. The reason why Asaba just got the sealed state, he tried Dao Zen. This is because Asaba always concentrates his mind when he draws his sword to become stronger. Asaba's spiritual power is much stronger than that of ordinary people, and the so-called mind is the withdrawal of the spirit. Asaba thought he could make it. Chapter 11. Failed. Asaba opened his eyes and found that his mind could not enter the sealed state space at all. It seems that if you want to enter the sword Zen, you still need to integrate with the sealed state for a long time. I need to concentrate every time I draw a knife, and it's a way of sharpening it. Asaba got up, held the sealed state tightly in his hand, and took a deep breath. Brush. Asaba concentrated and pulled out the sealed state in his hand. Successful drawing of the knife. Reiatsu plus 0.3. Very good. Continue. Asaba concentrated again and pulled the sealed state out. Successful drawing of the knife. Reiatsu plus 0.3. At this time, Asaba can draw 12 times per minute. Asaba's current Reiatsu has surpassed the 5th grade, and is approaching the 4th grade Reiatsu. The next day, except for meal time, Asaba draws a knife in the dormitory every day to become stronger. What puzzled Asaba was that the leader of his 7th group, Nobita Ito, did not inform him of the class. Asaba didn't think much about it at the time, and continued to draw his sword to become stronger. Day 3. Asaba still hasn't received a notification from Nobita Ito. On the 4th day, the same is true. Asaba understood. Nobita Ito deliberately did not inform him of the class. However, Asaba didn't mind either. The learning of smashing fists and walking ghosts cannot be accomplished overnight, and requires a long period of study and practice. Asaba asked himself, he wasn't some super genius. Now the time until Aizen's mutiny is getting shorter and shorter, it has only been a little more than a month. Asaba thought that he could not master the profound meaning of slashing fists and walking away ghosts in such a short period of time. Even if you learn, you may only be able to learn a little, so instead of that, it is better to improve Reiatsu. Asaba didn't regret applying for the True Spirit Academy. After all, he gets sealed state here. Soon. It has been half a month since the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts started. Nobita Ito, the leader of Asaba's 7th team, never once informed Asaba of the class. Asaba stayed in the dormitory every day to draw a knife to become stronger. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Host successfully draws his sword 500,000 times and gets an extra sword drawing reward, Ultimate Reiatsu Control. Asaba was overjoyed when he heard the prompt in his head. What Asaba wants to learn most now is not to cut fists and walk away ghosts, but to control Reiatsu. At this point, after Asaba has learned Reiatsu Control, he tries to cover a small portion of Reiatsu to the blade. Brush. Asaba slashed forward out of thin air. I saw Asaba covering the blade of Reiatsu, and when Asaba slashed, he formed a small sword and charged forward. Because the Asaba covered very little Reiatsu on the sealed state blade, the sword shock wave had little impact and dissipated quickly. Asaba is overjoyed. Very good, I have mastered Komamura Sajin's sword pressure released. The sword press is the signature move of the 7th Division Captain Komamura Sajin. If I release the sword pressure with all my strength now, Kimura, Rukongai, would have been instantly killed by me. Asaba soon tried to cover Reiatsu on himself, and Reiatsu covering Asaba immediately formed a Reiatsu defense around Asaba. So this is Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu defense. If I were to fight Kimura Bully and some of his gangsters now, they wouldn't be able to break through my Reiatsu defense even if I stood there. The so-called one-stop shop. Asaba discovered that after he learned Reiatsu Control, many of the ways of using Reiatsu were directly mastered. For example, Asaba can now stand and move in the air by gathering spirits under his feet. During the Karakura town battle, when Shinigami and Arankar faced off, they were both standing in the air. The reason why they can stand in the air is to use this method. Of course, gathering the spirits under your feet can only achieve standing and moving in the air, but you can't do it if you want to fly. After Asaba Master took control of Ultimate Reiatsu, his combat strength was several times higher than before. And, after Asaba learned Ultimate Reiatsu Control, Asaba found that the efficiency of his sword drawing was greatly improved. Now, with Asaba's concentration, the number of times he draws the knife per minute has reached a terrifying 30 times. Time goes on. It has been a month since the opening of the True Spirit Academy. When the teachers of the True Spiritual Arts Academy are in class, for the sake of convenience, the students of each class are divided into groups. This day, when it was the normal first class 7th group to take the Kendo class, Nobita Ito went up to look for the Kendo teacher as usual. Yamato-sensei, Asaba, he has something to do today, so he can't come to Kendo class. Yamato's expression froze. What the hell is this Asaba doing? It's been a month since the class started, and he takes time off every time. Until now, he hasn't come to a Kendo class, right? Nobita Ito said, Mr. Yamato, don't be angry, maybe Asaba thinks it's better for him to practice on his own. I have been teaching Kendo at the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts for more than 200 years. Could it be that my guidance is not comparable to his own practice? Nobita Ito saw that Yamato was very angry and was very happy. It seemed that it was time for the teacher to find trouble with Asaba. So, Nobita Ito pretended to defend Asaba. Actually, Asaba has his own way to become stronger. Well, what method? Nobita Ito held back his smile and said, Asaba said he can draw a sword and become stronger. Asaba didn't say such a thing to Nobita Ito. Nobita Ito never informed Asaba of the class. He wanted to know Asaba's reaction, so he secretly went to see Asaba's dormitory and peeped a few times. Every time he went to Asaba's dormitory to peek at Asaba, he found that Asaba was foolishly drawing a knife at the entrance of the dormitory. That's why he said that. Draw a sword and become stronger. There are such cheap things in the world, why do we need teachers like us? Teacher, this is true. Asaba can really draw a sword and become stronger. Nobita Ito said this with a firm face, but he was laughing wildly in his heart. Asaba, you're not finished this time. Come, Take me to Asaba, I want to see how he draws his sword and becomes stronger. When Nobita Ito took kendo teacher Yamato to Asaba's dormitory, Asaba didn't know anything about it, and still draws a knife in the dormitory. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Come again. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Host successfully draws his sword 500,000 times and gets an extra sword drawing reward, one of the Shikai forms. After drawing the sword 500,000 times, 70% of Reiatsu's Asaba was absorbed by the Reiatsu loader, and now Reiatsu still has the level of 10 seats in the division. Okay, unconsciously, it has been 500,000 times. And the reward is Shikai. But what does one of the Shikai forms mean? Host can go to Dao Zen space to view it by himself. Asaba is about to do a sword meditation review. Bang bang bang. Asaba's dormitory door was slammed loudly, and the person knocking on the door was very rude. Asaba sensed the Reiatsu of Nobita Ito outside the door, and also sensed a strong and strange Reiatsu. That mighty and strange Reiatsu, with about 5 seats in the squad, is stronger than Asaba's current Reiatsu. Of course, if Asaba removes the Reiatsu weights, it's not a good idea. Nobita Ito shouted loudly outside the door, Asaba, I know you are inside, kendo teacher is here, open the door. Asaba opened the door, and Yamato glanced at Asaba. It was found that Asaba was almost soaked, as if he had just experienced intense exercise. If it wasn't for Asaba alone in the dormitory, and he only sensed Asaba as Reiatsu outside the door just now, he would definitely think wrongly, thinking that Asaba was hiding in the dormitory with a certain girl. Yamato asked, Are you Asaba? Asaba nodded. I am Asaba. Do you know who I am? Kendo teacher, Asaba asked. When Nobita Ito knocked on the door just now, he said that the kendo teacher was coming, so he must be the one in front of him. Since you know that I am a kendo teacher, why haven't you been to my kendo class? Do you look down on my kendo? Nobita Ito was afraid of revealing his secrets, and hurriedly interjected, Yamato-sensei, Asaba is busy getting stronger. Before Asaba could speak, Yamato asked, Asaba, I heard that you can draw a sword to become stronger. Asaba was stunned at first, how did this kendo teacher know? Asaba glanced at Nobita Ito, who was standing beside him giggling, and immediately understood. All this is the ghost of Nobita Ito. Want to slap in the face? Sure, but who hit whose face? Not necessarily. So Asaba nodded and said, well, I can indeed draw a sword and become stronger. Nobita Ito couldn't help laughing when he saw that Asaba had admitted it himself. Ha ha ha, I laughed so hard. There are really fools who think that if they can draw a knife, they will become stronger. Yamato turned around and stared at Nobita Ito, who was laughing so hard that he burst into tears. Nobita, as Asaba's team leader, since you don't believe that he can become stronger by drawing a sword, why do you ask for leave every time? Yamato is not a fool, he naturally sees a problem between Asaba and Nobita Ito. The smile on Nobita Ito's face suddenly froze, and he didn't know how to explain it. Teacher, I asked team leader Nobita to help. Nobita Ito was stunned, but he didn't expect Asaba to speak for Nobita Ito. Oh, then show me how you draw your sword and become stronger. Good. After taking a deep breath, Asaba pulled out the sealed state. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. After Asaba successfully drew his sword, Reiatsu suddenly added an almost imperceptible drop. Although Nobita Ito became the team leader, his Reiatsu was only a 5th grade, and he could reach the level of a general team member. Nobita Ito's Reiatsu perception level is just a little bit stronger than that of ordinary people, not even the ordinary Shinigami of the squad. At this time, Nobita Ito naturally did not perceive any changes in Asaba's Reiatsu. He could not even perceive Asaba's real Reiatsu level, but he could only perceive Asaba's Reiatsu. So, Nobita Ito shouted loudly from the side, wow, Asaba's Reiatsu has really become stronger. Yamato-sensei, did you notice it? After Nobita Ito finished speaking, he held back his smile and waited for Yamato to refute him. Result, Yamato nodded. Well, I sense it. Yamato has coached for more than 200 years, and Reiatsu's perception level is naturally not low. Just now, Yamato did sense Asaba's Reiatsu, strengthening it a little bit. Nobita Ito was taken aback for a moment, wondering what Yamato meant, was he mocking Asaba by saying the same thing as him? Asaba, draw your sword a few more times and show Yamato-sensei how you became stronger. Yamato said, Asaba, I really didn't feel it clearly just now, please draw your knife a few more times. Good call. Asaba pulled the sealed state out again. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Yamato once again sensed the loss of Asaba's Reiatsu enhancement. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Successful drawing of the knife, Reiatsu plus 0.3. Asaba drew the knife 10 times in a row before stopping. Yamato looked at Asaba in shock. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that someone could actually become stronger by drawing a knife. Now, Yamato knew why Asaba was soaked with sweat. Apparently, Asaba has been drawing his sword from the dormitory. Yamato-sensei, now you have a clear perception, how about it? I didn't lie to you, Asaba can really draw a sword and become stronger. PFF ha ha ha. Yamato turned around again and stared at Nobita Ito, who was laughing while holding his stomach. Nobita, is it so funny that Asaba can draw a sword and become stronger? What? Nobita Ito looked at Yamato's serious expression and couldn't react for a while. What happened? Shouldn't Yamato be angry at Asaba's drawing his sword to become stronger and cheating him? Yamato looked at Nobita Ito, who didn't answer, and shook his head, thinking he was an ignorant clown in his heart. Asaba, although you can become stronger by drawing a knife, you still need to attend the courses arranged by the academy. If Nobita deliberately embarrassed you and didn't notify you of the class, I can respond to your teacher in charge and let you join the 7th group, the leader. Nobita Ito panicked when he heard the words. Mr. Yamato, I didn't deliberately embarrass Asaba, and Asaba didn't say it just now, did he ask me to help? Yamato gave Asaba a look, indicating that Asaba is telling the truth, he will make the decision for Asaba. Asaba said, Mr. Yamato, it is true that I asked Nobita's team leader to ask for leave for me all the time. Well, why? Yamato-sensei looked at Asaba in confusion. Asaba said, Mr. Yamato, you don't know, the reason why the leader of Nobita is willing to ask for leave for me is because I have an agreement with him, right, leader of Nobita? Nobita Ito felt a lump in his heart and had a bad premonition. But now he can't get down on a tiger. If he refutes Asaba now, then he deliberately rectifies Asaba's affairs, and he may be shaken out by Asaba. True Central Spiritual Arts Academy prohibits students from fighting, especially as the team leader, he is not allowed to use his power to bully team members. If it is found, and the circumstances are serious, it will be directly expelled from the True Spiritual Arts Academy, and will never be admitted. Therefore, although Nobita Ito didn't know what the promise was in Asaba's mouth at this time, he had to bite the bullet and agree with Asaba's words. Yes, I have an agreement with Asaba. Yamato asked, oh, what's your agreement? Asaba said, Nobita's team leader and I agreed that until I challenge him to life and death and defeat him, I can't go to class. Life and death challenge. True Spiritual Arts Academy prohibits infighting between academies. But there will always be conflicts between people. The students of the True Spiritual Arts Academy inevitably have conflicts that cannot be resolved peacefully when they get along with each other. In order to resolve conflicts, the college allows life and death challenges between students. Of course, when students challenge life and death, both parties must agree, and there must be more than 3 college teachers present to preside over. Yamato knew that there was a conflict between Asaba and Nobita Ito, but he didn't expect the conflict between the two to be so deep that they needed to be resolved through a life and death challenge. The so-called life and death challenge, as the name suggests, is the challenge of betting on life and death. Nobita, do you really have such an agreement with Asaba? Nobita Ito was in a semi-petrified state at this time, and he never imagined that Asaba wanted to challenge him with life and death. But, Nobita Ito believes that his strength is above Asaba. Moreover, he has been learning to cut fists and walk ghosts for a month, while Asaba has never attended classes at all, and has been staying in the dormitory and drawing his sword foolishly. Until now, Nobita Ito does not believe that Asaba can really draw a sword and become stronger. Nobita Ito has been holding a grudge against Asaba since he lost face by being ignored by Miko and Naoko. Nobita Ito, who was born in Rukongai and killed many people, has long wanted to kill Asaba. If it weren't for the rules of the academy, Nobita Ito would have killed Asaba directly instead of using those small tricks. Dashong. Yamato saw that the expression on Nobita Ito's face changed from stunned to cruel, but he didn't answer, so he let out a cry. Yes, Asaba and I do have such an agreement. Asaba, I remember that the deadline for our agreement is today. How about it, are you ready? Isn't Asaba going to challenge him to life and death? Exactly, kill Asaba today. Asaba is ruthless, making a false promise of a life and death challenge. Nobita Ito was even more ruthless, saying that today is the deadline. Today, Nobita Ito and Asaba will decide between life and death. Asaba knew that Nobita Ito had always looked down on him, so he made a false promise of a life and death challenge, but Nobita Ito did not disappoint him and took the bait. Nobita leader, I'm ready. Nobita Ito's face was very grim at this time. He looked at Yamato and said, Yamato-sensei, I am also ready, please help to host. Yamato sighed and said, if that's the case, then I'll host it for you. 1 hour later, Yamato's private courtyard at the academy. Yamato has been a teacher at the True Spiritual Academy for more than 200 years, and the benefits of a private courtyard are normal. At this time, there were 6 people in the yard. In addition to Asaba, Nobita Ito and Yamato, 3 teachers, Whitehits, Kido, and Shunpo from the Freshman General Class 1 were also present. The other 3 teachers, after being informed of this by Yamato, naturally agreed to help host this life and death challenge together. They have long wanted to meet Asaba, who has never been to their classes. Yamato said, Asaba, Nobita Ito, have you two really decided that you will have a life and death challenge? Asaba nodded without hesitation. Today is the time for Nobita Ito, who has been bouncing around for a long time. Nobita Ito, who also wanted to kill Asaba, nodded. Since that's the case, then I'll start to announce the rules of life and death challenge. Once the life and death challenge begins, it will end only if one party dies or admits defeat and begs for mercy. During the life and death challenge, any weapon and any means of attack are allowed. The arena for this life and death challenge is this yard. Teacher Zhang Cheng has already set up a barrier in the yard. You can rest assured to fight in the yard. Zhang Cheng is the Kido teacher of the Freshman Normal Class 1. He used to be the core Shinigami of the Kido community. Because he interrupted a hand during a mission, he retired to the True Spiritual Art Academy and was responsible for teaching Kido. Zhangcheng now uses prosthetic limbs, although Kido's level is not as good as before, but it is more than enough to set up a barrier of this level. Both Asaba and Nobita Ito nodded. Well, now I announce. Asaba, member of the 7th group of the Ordinary First Class, has officially begun his life and death challenge to the 7th group leader of the Ordinary First Class, Nobita Ito. As soon as the shouting voice fell, Nobita Ito pulled out the sealed state from his waist and slashed towards Asaba with a loud shout. Asaba, die for lousy. Asaba stood motionless. Choke. The sealed state in Nobita Ito's hand hit Asaba's forehead directly. Ha ha ha. With this little skill, you dare, What's going on? I'm going to slash with all my strength. How could you not be dead and not injured? Asaba smiled and said, it may be that you are too light, you can try harder. Asaba, you are too arrogant, Lousy doesn't believe that he can't kill you. Nobita Ito kept slashing at Asaba's body with his sword. Choke, 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 ... Cough cough cough. After Nobita Ito slashed dozens of times at Asaba in a row, Asaba was still unscathed, but the school uniform of the True Spirit Academy on his body was cut in many places. Asaba, who was slashed, was not injured, but Nobita Ito, who was slashed with a knife, was out of breath. He looked at Asaba in disbelief. Asaba, what kind of monster are you? Why can't I cut you? Asaba said. Nobita team leader, didn't I ask you to be stronger? You are so light that I am embarrassed to shoot at you. Nobita Ito didn't know what was going on, but Yamato and the others, who were watching the battle, saw Duani. Is this a Reiatsu defense similar to Captain Zaraki? Probably. I didn't expect to see a Zaraki Kenpachi level Reiatsu defense on a freshman student. It seems that our academy is about to give birth to another little monster. After hearing the words of Yamato and the others, Nobita Ito laughed and fought. I see, Reiatsu defense. Watch me break your Reiatsu defense with Kido. After speaking, Nobita Ito began to sing the Kido mantra. The incantation sung by Nobita Ito is, Hado no 4 Bele. He only mastered Hado under the 10th sequence in Kido, and he had to finish chanting the incantation, and he had not yet learned the more advanced chanting renunciation. Nobita team leader, how about you cut me so many knives, and let me cut one more knife? Asaba said, pulled out the sealed state, and stood there. Asaba raised the sealed state high, and cut it out of thin air at Nobita Ito, who was more than 10 meters away. Brush. I saw a sword pressure visible to the naked eye, and when the Asaba sealed state was cut, it was cut towards Nobita Ito. At this time, before Nobita Ito's Kido mantra was finished, he was hit head-on by Asaba's sword. Puff. A line of blood appeared on Nobita Ito. Nobita Ito flew backwards for a few meters before crashing to the ground. After Nobita Ito landed, blood kept pouring out of his mouth. He tried his best to raise his hand, his eyes full of disbelief. Snapped. As Nobita Ito's disbelieving eyes became slack, his raised hand slammed to the ground feebly. I admit defeat. Save me. In Asaba's perception, the Reiatsu on Nobita Ito became weaker and weaker, and was about to dissipate. If no one treats him in time, Nobita Ito will die in less than a quarter of an hour. Now that Nobita Ito has conceded defeat, a shunpo from Zhongcheng, the teacher of Kido, came to Nobita Ito and started to help him with the most basic Kaido. Asaba put away the sealed state. Nobita leader, if I knew you were so weak, I wouldn't have to wait until the last day we agreed to challenge you. When Nobita Ito heard the words, she, who had stopped vomiting blood, started to vomit blood again, and was obviously very angry with Asaba. Yamato and other teachers came to Asaba's side. Asaba, what you just did was Reiatsu defense and sword pressing. Asaba nodded. Teacher Whitehits said, I remember that you have just entered school for a month, and you haven't been exposed to the Reiatsu defense and sword pressing courses, right? Yamato said, have you forgotten, Asaba never took a class. Then, several teachers looked at Asaba suspiciously. They were curious how Asaba had learned advanced Reiatsu techniques such as Reiatsu defense and sword pressing. Generally speaking, students at the True Spiritual Arts Academy usually don't take courses in Reiatsu defense and sword fighting until the 5th grade. Asaba said, I taught myself. Yamato said, Asaba, your talent is so high, you should still take the class of slashing fists and walking ghosts as normal in the future. I will help you explain to your teacher in charge and let you be the leader of the 7th group. Asaba said, thank you Mr. Yamato, but I want to apply for graduation now. I wonder if some teachers can help me. Yamato is a little confused. The True Spiritual Art Academy does allow and encourages students with outstanding performance to graduate early. However, in the history of the True Spirit Academy, Ichimaru Jin, the captain who took the shortest time, also took a full year. If you want to apply for graduation early, you must excel in the 4 skills of slashing fists and walking ghosts, and you must release Zanpakuto's real name, and you must have at least one active squad leader's recommendation. This is indeed the rule of the True Spirit Academy. But the so-called rules have always been set up for those mediocre people. The real strong will not be bound by rules. Asaba said. Several teachers, if I have completed the liberation of Zanpakuto's real name, can the teachers help me apply to the academy for early graduation? Several teachers looked at each other. Yamato said, Asaba, it's only been a month since you got the sealed state. Have you really completed the liberation of your real name? Asaba nodded. Then show us now. If you really complete the liberation of your real name, our teachers will help you arrange your application for early graduation. Wait a minute then. Yamato and others are puzzled. Do you need to prepare anything to show Shikai? When Yamato and others were puzzled, Asaba sat cross-legged on the ground. Then, Asaba placed the sealed state horizontally on his knees, pressed the end of the knife with one hand and the bottom of the knife with the other, and closed his eyes. After Asaba concentrated his mind successfully entered the sword meditation space. Knife Zen. Teachers such as Yamato naturally know what Asaba is doing now. Didn't he know Zanpakuto's real name before? It seems so. Then why is Asaba confident that he can succeed this time? Anyway, he was able to enter the Dao Zen space just a month after he got it, which is already considered a rare genius to be seen in 100 years. Generally speaking, if you want to enter the Dao Zen space, you need to experience at least several years of hard work with the sealed state. After Asaba entered the Sword Zen space, it was found that he had come to a void, shining brightly in the east of Asaba. When Asaba looked towards the bright spot, Asaba only felt his eyes lit up and was sucked in instantly. When Asaba regained his vision, he had come to a whole new space. There are dark clouds in the sky, and thunder can be seen everywhere. And in the dark clouds in the sky, there is a behemoth swimming. Soon, Asaba could clearly see the appearance of the floating thing in the air. It was a dragon. Yes, dragon. The dragon in the sky is the image of the Qinglong. Qinglong pushed aside the dark clouds with his front paws, and the lantern-sized eyes looked at Asaba, and then opened his mouth. A small mountain of thunder and lightning fell from the sky towards Asaba. Facing the falling thunder and lightning, Asaba shouted loudly, presumptuous. Snapped. The thunder and lightning dropped by Qinglong actually dissipated out of thin air. Qinglong is Zanpakuto of Asaba, and Asaba is the master of Qinglong. Even if this is the space of Qinglong, Qinglong can't hurt Asaba. Now, tell me, your real name. Asaba spoke. An invisible pressure was pressing towards Qinglong. Although Qinglong was unwilling, it was restrained by an unknown terrorist force and had to surrender to Asaba. My power is to control the 9 heavens divine thunder. My name is Qinglong. Asaba was a little speechless, and he was really called Qinglong. Of course, although Asaba recognized the other party as Qinglong at a glance, Qinglong himself told Asaba's real name. Asaba's heart suddenly penetrated, and he knew how to liberate the power of Qinglong. Outside, under the treatment of Mr. Kido, Nobita Ito's fate was saved. Nobita Ito was lying on the ground, and he couldn't get up yet. He glanced at Asaba, who was sitting cross-legged. Asaba lied to you. He must have just pretended to enter the Sword Zen space now. As far as Ito Nobita knows, among all the freshmen this year, even those students in the special entry class with exceptionally good grades, still no one has been able to succeed in swordsmanship. Asaba, how can a person who chooses the weakest, sealed state succeed in sword meditation within a month? As for the successful liberation of Zanpakuto's real name, that's even more unlikely. Why do you say that? Some teachers don't know. Nobita Ito recounted what happened when Asaba chose the sealed state. The Yamato teachers looked at Nobita Ito as if they were idiots. Obviously, they know that the sealed state's capabilities are not determined by the sealed state itself. They know that no matter which sealed state they choose, it's actually the same. Because, the ability of sealed state is determined by the soul injected by the owner. At this moment, Asaba opened his eyes. Yamato and other teachers noticed that Asaba opened his eyes and immediately asked, "How is it? Did it work?" Nobita Ito said, "How could he succeed? He chose the worst sealed state. It is estimated that he will not be able to complete the liberation of his real name in this life." Asaba stood up. "Please also ask some teachers to stay away." Teacher Yamato made room for Asaba, but Nobita Ito, who was lying on the ground, sneered, "Asaba, you can really pretend. You won't be able to free Zanpakuto for a while. I see how you can continue to pretend." Asaba ignored Nobita Ito, but Yamato shouted at him, "Shut up." Asaba held the handle in his right hand, slowly pulled out the sealed state, and then threw the sealed state into the air. At the same time, Asaba chanted softly, "Down the divine thunder, Qinglong." Boom! The sealed state that was thrown into the air by Asaba, accompanied by the sound of thunder, fell in front of Asaba and stopped in the air. Yamato and other teachers looked carefully, and saw Zanpakuto's Shikai behind Asaba. The handle has dragon scales. There are dragon beards flying at the knife edge. The body of the blade is cyan, and there is lightning entanglement from time to time. After Asaba grabbed the handle of the knife, the breath on his body changed. Yamato et al. Clearly felt that Asaba's Reiatsu improved by about 3 times. Asaba felt it himself. He could sense changes in himself, and after he liberated Zanpakuto, not only did Reiatsu triple in size. Moreover, his own strength attribute has also been strengthened, and the increase is 10 times terrifying. Now, Asaba can easily smash rocks with one punch. With Zanpakuto, Asaba can cut through steel with a single strike. This is the liberation of Asaba's Zanpakuto. After liberation, Asaba triples Reiatsu and strengthens Asaba's power. And, when Asaba uses Zanpakuto to attack, it will also attack with lightning, and if he is hit by Asaba's Zanpakuto multiple times, he will be paralyzed. The number of hits required to paralyze is determined by Asaba's own Reiatsu and the opponent's strength. Asaba now faces ordinary spirits, which can be paralyzed with just one knife. Of course, ordinary souls simply cannot withstand the current Asaba's sword. If facing Nobita Ito, Asaba only needs 2 to 3 normal slashes to paralyze Nobita Ito and temporarily lose his mobility. No. Impossible. How could you really complete the liberation of your real name? You chose the worst sealed state at the entrance of the narrow room that no one ever wanted. Holding the liberated Zanpakuto, Asaba came to Nobita Ito and looked at him with a smile. Team Nobita, thanks to you, I was able to choose such a strong sealed state. You should get better soon. In order to thank you for letting me choose such a strong sealed state, I will treat you to any location you want. Nobita Ito felt the power of Asaba at this time. Even if Asaba didn't release Reiatsu to him, he still felt a deep pressure. Nobita Ito believed Asaba's words. I thought that Asaba chose such a strong sealed state by mistake because of his difficulties. Puff. Wow. Nobita Ito, who was just saving his life, was so angry with Asaba that he was directly pissed to death. Asaba felt that Nobita Ito's Reiatsu had disappeared, and was speechless. He really didn't want to be mad at Nobita Ito, he just wanted to stimulate Nobita Ito now. Then look for opportunities in the future to let Nobita Ito die. Nobita Ito was so pissed off that he was cheap. Teachers, he was mad at himself, and it has nothing to do with me. Only then did Yamato and the other teachers wake up from the shock of Asaba's completion of Zanpakuto's liberation. Yamato said, Asaba, in fact, there is no difference between strong and weak sealed states. Asaba interrupted Yamato's words. Yamato-sensei, I know, but the ability of the sealed state was decided when we first held it. Yamato looked at Asaba in surprise. You know. Asaba smiled without explaining. At this time, Yamato and others knew that Asaba was deliberately provoking Ito Nobita just now. But Nobita Ito was really pissed off. Moreover, when Asaba chose the sealed state, he was tricked by Nobita Ito. Now Nobita Ito is mad to death, which can be regarded as self-inflicted consequences. Several teachers, can you help me apply to the academy for early graduation now? Yamato said. 3 days later, we will arrange for you to meet the dean. Whether or not the dean can allow you to graduate early depends on your own ability. Thank you, teachers. After Asaba finished speaking, he dismissed Zanpakuto Shikai and left Yamato's private courtyard. As for the matter of Nobita Ito, Yamato and others will naturally handle it, and Asaba does not need to worry about it. When Asaba returned to the dormitory, he stroked Zanpakuto in his hand. After Asaba liberated the real name of Zanpakuto, the original sealed state has become the inscription Zanpakuto, and the style has become different from the sealed state. There are many unmarked lines on the handle of the knife, and the body of the knife has become transparent and looks extremely beautiful. Perhaps, the name of the most beautiful Zanpakuto is about to change hands. Originally, Rukia Kuchiki's Soda no Shirayuki was called the most beautiful Zanpakuto. Now, perhaps Asaba's Zanpakuto is the most beautiful Zanpakuto. Of course, the title of the most beautiful Zanpakuto is useless. Asaba is very satisfied with his abilities after Zanpakuto's liberation. And, Asaba could sense, his Zanpakuto's Shikai might not be as simple as it is now. When Asaba draws his sword to get a reward, the system tells him one of the Shikai forms. When Asaba first entered the sword Zen space, he was also sucked into the space due east. Asaba speculates that his Zanpakuto should have other Shikai forms. 3 days later, under the arrangement of Yamato and other teachers, Asaba met the director of the True Spiritual Art Institute. After Asaba showed the dean the ultimate Reiatsu control with Zanpakuto Shikai, the dean agreed to Asaba's application for early graduation. True Central Spiritual Arts Academy is mainly to cultivate talents for Gotei 13th Division, so the dean made a report to the division. The 5th Division Captain's Room. After Aizen Sosuke read the dean of the True Spiritual Arts Academy, he personally submitted the early graduation report for Asaba. Aizen Sosuke had a smile on his face. Asaba. The kid I saw in Rukongai before, I thought Naoko killed him. It's really interesting. Not only is Asaba still alive, but the dean can make a report for him in person. Oh, did you release Zanpakuto's real name within a month of getting the sealed state? It seems that Asaba's future is really promising, and it's a good pawn to use now. If he can successfully graduate early, let him be recruited into the 5th division and pave the way for my next plan. Aizen Sosuke came to the file shelf and took out a stack of documents that had already been reviewed. After flipping through it for a while, he took out a document and said to himself, Asaba's soul burial practice, let's be assigned to this group. It must be very interesting. Asaba dormitory, Yamato said a little excitedly. Asaba, Gotei 13th has passed the report of the headmaster. Asaba was also a little excited. When he thought about entering Gotei 13, and seeing those Shinigami, how could Asaba not be excited? When, 5 days later, together with some students from the 6th grade General Class 3, we will go to Karakura Town to participate in the soul burial practice. Karakura Town. Good. Asaba, the True Spirit Academy has always had an unwritten rule. Seeing that Yamato was suddenly serious, Asaba asked, what's the rule? 6th graders who participate in the soul burial practice will make things difficult for the lower grade students who participate in the soul burial practice in advance. Asaba's current strength, even if he doesn't remove the Reiatsu loaders and liberate Zanpakuto, he still has the level of 10 seats in the squad. What about 6th graders? After graduating, only 1 out of 10 people can enter Gotei 13th as a regular team member, which is the so-called regular Shinigami. The entire Gotei 13th has more than 6,300 soldiers, but there are only more than 100 officers. The strength gap between Asaba and those 6th graders can be imagined. Seeing Asaba disapprovingly, Yamato reminded, Asaba, you have misunderstood. I'm not afraid that you will be bullied, but I hope you can control yourself when you are making things difficult. After all, it is not a life and death challenge like you and Nobita. Asaba understood. Yamato was afraid that he would make things worse and not graduate smoothly. Thank you Yamato-sensei for reminding me, I will pay attention. Asaba, in fact, I still don't think you should be in a hurry to graduate early. Your current strength has indeed reached the level of the Shinigami commander of the squad, but you hardly know anything about smashing fists and walking ghosts. Asaba could tell that Yamato was sincere. Yamato-sensei, cutting fists and walking ghosts doesn't mean everything. Captain Zaraki of Team 11 is not the best example. Yamato thought about it. Asaba's fighting style was really similar to Zaraki Kenpachi, so he stopped persuading Asaba. After Yamato left, Asaba continued to draw his sword in the dormitory to become stronger. Asaba is still confident in graduating early. After all, his current strength has reached the level of the 10th seed of the team. Asaba has been staying at the True Central Spiritual Arts Academy, and he cannot participate in the plot. Only when he enters the 13th chapter of Gotei will he have the opportunity. As for which team to join, Asaba plans to see which team likes him at that time. The Spiritual Art Institute is one of the landmark buildings of the Junyang Spiritual Art Institute. There is a special preparation room for soul burial practice in the courtyard of the Spiritual Art Institute. Every time a student goes to the present world for soul burial practice, there will be Shinigami from the Spiritual Art Institute, who will not have time to pass through the realm, and will open the gate of crossing the realm leading to the practice site. And send a professional subordinate Shinigami to enter the boundary in advance to temporarily limit the flow of detention in the channel of the boundary. So that the students who go to the present world to participate in the practice of soul burial can smoothly and safely arrive at the place of practice of soul burial in this world under the guidance of Hell Butterfly. The severe realm is the passage connecting the present world and the soul society, and there is a stream of restraints in the passage that can stop all spiritual bodies from moving. Because the time density in the boundary realm is different from the outside world, 1 year in the boundary realm is equivalent to 2,000 years in the outside world, so there are scavenger-like detainees from time to time in the boundary, and people are not allowed to stay in the boundary for a long time. Crossing the gate is to open the gate of breaking the realm. This day, soul burial practice preparation outdoor. The students from grade 6 ordinary class 3 who went to Karakura Town to participate in the soul burial internship this time have been waiting here early. It's so lucky. It's a rare opportunity that we can't come across in 100 years, and we have it. Ha ha ha. When the junior kid who participated in the soul burial practice in advance arrives, we must inherit the tradition left by the seniors and entertain him well. I think it's better not to play too much. After all, they are our juniors. Cut, madam, get away. 10 minutes later, a handsome-looking boy walked into the yard. Ordinary 6th graders in Class 3 looked towards teenagers. 2 of the female students were shocked when they saw the boy's appearance. Asaba also saw Naoko and Miko looking surprised. At this moment, he remembered that Miko had indeed said that she was a 6th grader in ordinary 3rd class. Unexpectedly, Asaba's early soul burial internship turned out to be the group of Naoko and Miko. Actually, this is not a coincidence. This was deliberately arranged by Aizen Sosuke. Hey, are you the lower grade kid who participated in the soul burial practice in advance? Asaba looked at the person who opened the mouth, and found that the opponent Reiatsu was not bad, and had reached the level of a general team player. I did come to participate in the soul burial practice in advance, but I am not a kid. The man poked Asaba's shoulder and said, Senior, I said you were a kid, you are a kid. Asaba stood still, staring at the man poking his hand, and said coldly, I don't really like being like this. Ha ha ha. The man turned around with a smile and turned to look at his classmate. He said he didn't like it. Ha ha ha. The other 6th graders also laughed. After laughing, the man withdrew his hand and went straight to the subject. Hey, kid, let's play a game with us. Come yet, making things difficult in the mouth of Mr. Yamato. What game? It's like this. According to tradition, the junior students who participated in the soul burial practice in advance must be approved by the 3 seniors before they can be allowed to participate in the soul burial practice together. The so-called seniors refer to 6th graders such as men. Asaba smiled and asked, how can I get the recognition of my seniors? Naturally, from our seniors, choose 3 to challenge. In order not to make you feel that we are bullying you, choose 3 seniors to challenge yourself. Isn't it bullying to choose for yourself? Really good logic. Asaba looked at the man and said, then let's start with you, senior. The man's pupils shrank. Little devil, I remind you, I am the strongest among them. Yes, in Asaba's perception, among these 6th graders, there are at least 3 Reiatsu who are stronger than the man in front of him. Naoko is one of them. Miko's Reiatsu is very ordinary. When the man saw Asaba looking at him questioningly, he immediately felt that he had lost face in front of his classmates. Okay, then let this senior teach you to be a man first. Soon, the crowd made room in the courtyard for Asaba and the man. The man pulled out the sealed state, then beckoned to Asaba, do it. The sealed state in the man's hands has not changed, indicating that he has not yet completed the liberation of Zanpakuto. Completion of Zanpakuto liberation is a requirement for students who graduate early. Of the more than 6,300 Shinigami members of the Gotei 13th Division, the vast majority of Shinigami have not completed Shikai. Asaba stood still, not to mention pulling out Zanpakuto, without even touching Zanpakuto with his hands. You are a senior, or you go first. Little devil, if the senior asked you to go first, you should be the first to know. With all due respect, if I make the first move, the seniors will have no chance to make a move. Ha ha ha, what an arrogant kid, I want to see if your ability is as arrogant as your tone. After the man finished speaking, he charged towards Asaba with sealed state in both hands. He was looked down upon many times by Asaba and had been irritated. He decided to teach Asaba a lesson and let Asaba know what a senior is. The man came to Asaba, who was still standing still. Kid, seeing that Asaba ignored him at all, the man was dominated by anger, raised the sealed state with both hands, and slashed down towards Asaba. Hey, Shikai, are you crazy? You're going to kill him like that? It's over, this arrogant kid will be killed like this. Naoko and Miko watched from the side, and when they saw Asaba, they pretended not to know Asaba and didn't say hello to Asaba. The 2 also felt that even if Asaba didn't die, he would be seriously injured, and they would not be able to participate in this soul burial practice together. Choke. The sealed state in Shikai's hand slashed hard on Asaba's head, but it didn't hurt Asaba in the slightest. Scare. What's the matter? Did Shikai hear my cry and let go? It's beautiful to kill him. He even pulled his power at the last minute. Not only did he frighten the kid, but he also showed his excellent control as a senior. I'm a role model. Asaba raised his hand, slapped away the sealed state that was still chopped off his head, and looked at Shikai coldly. Senior, you want to kill me with this blow? Shikai just woke up from the shock. He was indeed slashing with the heart to kill Asaba. He had no mercy at all. But Asaba was clearly seen by him, but Asaba was not injured. Instead, he held his hand in the sealed state, which made his mouth go numb. How is this going? What trick did you play? Senior, as a 6th grader, don't you know what Reiatsu defense is? Shikai shouted excitedly. Impossible, Reiatsu's defense can only enhance his own defense, it can't have this effect. The surrounding 6th graders swallowed their saliva after listening to the conversation between Asaba and Shikai. Didn't Shikai just pull up in time as they thought? The reason why Asaba wasn't injured was because he used the Reiatsu defense that they couldn't master even as 6th graders. They are short-sighted and can't understand it at all, they just think it's impossible. Naoko, did Asaba really use the Reiatsu defense? I heard from Mr. Hinamori Momo that Captain Zaraki of the 11th Division Reiatsu has a very strong defense, and even if he stands still and lets Shinigami, who is below the captain level, he will not be injured. That is, Asaba really just used the Reiatsu defense. Miko was startled and looked at Asaba with disbelief in her eyes. After Asaba chose the worst sealed state under Nobita Ito's calculation, isn't it hopeless? Why is Asaba, who has only been in school for a month now, able to participate in the soul burial practice with her? She even used the Reiatsu defense that made her feel incredible. Miko now regrets it. Knowing that Asaba was so strong, what she said at the time was to chase him down. Now continue to chase, is it too late? Impossible, this is impossible. Shikai continued to slash at Asaba like a madman. However, no matter how much he slashed, he couldn't break through Asaba's Reiatsu defense. Asaba held the hilt in his hand, and waved Zanpakuto with the scabbard in his hand towards Shikai lightly. Brush. A sword with a wide blade fell on Shikai. Shikai was hit by the sword and flew upside down several meters before crashing to the ground. Asaba's Reiatsu control is at the ultimate level, let alone with a scabbard. Even if you give Asaba a stick, Asaba can cut out the decompression. Wow! Shikai fell to the ground and spat out a large mouthful of blood, then looked down at his shoulder. I saw bloodline Madara where I was hit by Asaba's sword. How come my Shinigami power keeps running out? You fool, what have you done to me? Asaba said aggrieved. I didn't do anything. You slashed me so many times with the mentality of killing me. I just hit back lightly. I didn't expect you to be so unscrupulous. Hinamori Momo opened a small stove for Naoko and taught her a little basic Kaido. When she came to Sakai's side to treat Shikai, her brows were furrowed. Shikai, you may not be able to participate in the soul burial practice with us. What do you mean, Naoko? Your soul sleep was chopped to pieces. My Kaido can only treat your trauma, but cannot restore your soul sleep. No, impossible, you're scaring me, right? Naoko, you must be scaring me, my soul is not broken, right? Shinigami's power will be lost once Shinigami's sleep is destroyed. When Byakuya Kuchiki went to life and brought Rukia Kuchiki back to the Soul Society, he destroyed Kurosaki Ichigo's soul sleep with Sparkle, making Kurosaki Ichigo lose the Shinigami power he got from Rukia Kuchiki. Hey, kid, you're too much, how can you smash Sakai's soul sleep? You don't look down on us seniors too much, do you? Asaba spread his hands and said, Seniors, I have just entered school and have little knowledge, so I don't even know what you mean by sleeping. Kid, let me teach you how to behave. The Reiatsu of the one who opens up is stronger than Shikai. But that's all. Asaba unleashes his Reiatsu, surprising the 6th graders. Asaba's Reiatsu turned out to be above them. It seems that only challenging the 3 seniors is not enough for you to recognize me, why don't you go together? Insanity. Let's go together, chop up his soul and avenge Shikai. Knowing that Asaba's Reiatsu was stronger than them, these 6th graders didn't care about their senior's face, and swarmed towards Asaba. It's not that they really have a good relationship with Shikai and want to avenge Shikai, but they feel that they can't hold their own face. Naoko continued to use Kaido to treat Sakai's injuries, while Miko stood beside Naoko with a dazed expression. She doesn't know how much she regrets it now. Why did she believe Nobita Ito's words at that time, thinking that Asaba's future was over? Asaba pulled Zanpakuto out. Miko and the others looked at the Zanpakuto in Asaba's hands, which was different from the usual sealed state, and already had a hunch in their hearts. Asaba threw Zanpakuto in the air. Down the divine thunder. Qinglong. Facing a siege by a dozen 6th graders, Asaba freed Zanpakuto. Zanpakuto fell from the air in front of Asaba, paused, and was held by Asaba. Immediately, Asaba's Reiatsu tripled. Miko, who was watching the battle, was speechless in shock. Asaba has only received the sealed state for a month, and even completed Shikai. Miko's sealed state was her choice, and she only made the decision when the time to enter the narrow room was approaching. Now that she is about to graduate, she has just entered the Dao Zen space, and I don't know how long it will take to liberate Zanpakuto's real name. Naoko, isn't the sealed state that Asaba chose to be the worst sealed state that no one ever wanted at the entrance of Zaza? Didn't he never finish Shikai in his life? Why did Asaba complete the liberation of his real name in just 1 month? Naoko didn't answer Miko, because she didn't know how to answer, and she was also confused as she hadn't finished Shikai yet. The 6th graders who launched a siege on Asaba, although surprised that Asaba liberated Zanpakuto. But they had no choice but to shoot, and they still attacked Asaba. Asaba stood, letting the 6th graders attack. He also wanted to see how well Reiatsu's defense was after Shikai. The sealed state in the hands of 6th graders kept falling on Asaba. The action was as fierce as a tiger, but when he looked back, he couldn't break through Asaba's Reiatsu defense. The 6th graders were shocked, and Asaba was very satisfied. After Shikai, his Reiatsu defense also tripled. Everyone doesn't show mercy. They all attack me with all their strength, otherwise I'll make this brat look down on me. Facing the 6th grader who attacked again, Asaba swept Zanpakuto with both hands. Brush. A fan-shaped sword emanated from Zanpakuto from Asaba's hand. Ah, wow wow wow. Several 6th graders were knocked flying by the sword, and the remaining 6th graders retreated while holding the sealed state. A freshman who just entered the school, facing the siege of more than a dozen 6th graders who are about to graduate, can actually crush them. This is the kind of pressure that only academy teachers can put on them. Well, they haven't had a chance to touch the strong Shinigami of the squad. Is Asaba sure that he is not the head teacher of the True Spiritual Arts Academy, but a freshman who has just entered the school? Asaba held Zanpakuto and walked slowly towards the 6th graders standing. Hey, why do you keep retreating? No, don't come here. Asaba moved on. Why? Aren't you going to tell me what seniors are? You have been approved by us. Don't come here. Oh, I've got your approval. You said it earlier. Suddenly, Asaba turned around and looked towards the entrance of the small courtyard. I saw Shinigami, a slender woman wearing a Death Tyrant outfit, walked in. The female Shinigami has short light purple hair, with a few fine braids hanging down beside her ears with red bar earrings. She wears a team badge on her right shoulder. There is a big 4 character on the team badge, and below the 4 character is a somewhat abstract gentian flower. Asaba recognized her immediately. Kotetsu Aizen, the vice captain of the 4th Division. Kotetsu Aizen arrived late because he learned of this tradition at the True Spiritual Academy from Unohana Retsu. Originally, this time, it was the vice captain of the 5th Division, Hinamori Momo, who was in charge of leading the team. Unohana Retsu, the captain of the 4th Division, learned that a freshman who had just entered school for a month had attended the soul burial in advance. From Aizen Sosuke, he grabbed the team leader's place. Before Kotetsu Aizen came, Unohana Retsu told her to be late. The purpose, of course, was to make that freshman accept the harassment of the 6th grader. If the freshman can catch the trouble, it means that his strength is good, so let Kotetsu Aizen think that the freshman agrees to join the 4th team. As the medical team of the 4th Division, only Unohana Retsu and Kotetsu Aizen are really capable of fighting. And Kotetsu Aizen's Kaido and the ability to manage things in the squad are really good, but the combat power is really unsatisfactory. Kotetsu Aizen, Chojiro Sasaki, and Omaeda Marekio, the 3 vice captains, all freed their respective Zanpakuto to stop Kurosaki Ichigo from freeing Rukia Kuchiki, who was about to be executed, but was knocked down by Kurosaki Ichigo with his bare hands. Well, Kotetsu Aizen's fighting prowess can be seen in Amadara. So, Unohana Retsu just wanted to recruit a powerful newcomer to the 4th division. After Kotetsu Aizen walked into the yard, he looked at Asaba and the others and said, "I'm the captain of your team, Kotetsu Aizen, for this soul burial practice. What's going on with you?" Asaba said, "Hello Captain Yongyan, I am Asaba who participated in the soul burial internship earlier this time. The seniors are playing the recognition game with me." Kotetsu Aizen first glanced at the 6th graders lying on the ground, then looked at Asaba in surprise. Not only did Asaba completely crush each other with a pair of more than a dozen 6th graders, it has also completed the liberation of Zanpakuto's real name. As expected of a person who applied for graduation in advance just a month after entering school, really strong. Kotetsu Aizen felt that Asaba met Unohana Retsu's invitation criteria. You guys are playing this game too much. Feeling the power of his own Shinigami, Ito Nobita, who was about to pass away, saw Kotetsu Aizen, who was in despair, and suddenly saw hope. "Vice Captain Yongyan, save me." Kotetsu Aizen looked at Nobita Ito. "What's going on?" Nobita Ito pointed at Asaba and gritted his teeth and said, "He destroyed my sleep. I beg Vice Captain Yongyan to save me." Kotetsu Aizen came to Nobita Ito and shook his head after examining it. "Sorry, your soul sleep has been completely broken, so don't participate in this soul burial practice." No, I don't believe it. Deputy Captain Yongyan begs you to save me." Kotetsu Aizen looked at Asaba. "Asaba, isn't it too much for you to smash his soul into pieces?" Asaba said, "Everyone present can testify that he first killed me, then shouted to kill me, and sent me dozens of attacks that might kill me. And I just gently swung a knife at him without even pulling out Zanpakuto. How did I know he was so weak? And I just had little knowledge at school, so I didn't even know what soul sleep was." A black line appeared on Kotetsu Aizen's head. She looked at the 6th graders and said, "Is that so?" Those 6th graders didn't believe that Asaba didn't know what sleeping was, but the rest of what Asaba said was true. It was indeed Shikai who attacked Asaba first, and kept saying that he wanted to kill Asaba. Indeed, Asaba fired back in an understatement. So they all nodded. Kotetsu Aizen pointed at the 2 uninjured students and said, "Take him away and hand it over to the teacher in charge of your class. I will explain to the academy and let you 2 participate in the soul burial practice next time." "Okay, Vice Captain Yongyan." When Shikai was led out of the yard by 2 classmates, he still refused to accept this reality. "No, Vice Captain Yongyan, you are the vice captain of the 4th division. You must have a way to help me repair my sleep, right? Please help me. Let me go, I won't leave. I'm still going to be Shinigami, I can't leave like this." The sound of Sakai's miserable howl was getting farther and farther. The anger in the yard was a little dignified. They know. Shikai will soon leave the True Spiritual Arts Academy and return to Rukongai where he used to live. The Shinigami Academy will not keep trash that is destined to become Shinigami. Shikai, who lost the power of Shinigami, returned to Rukongai. One can imagine the fate. At this time, the people from the Lingshu Academy came out. "Vice Captain Yang Yin, the barrier to Karakura town in the present world is ready, and you can open the door at any time." Kotetsu Aizen said, "Wait a minute, I'll help them heal first." After half an hour, Shinigami of the Academy of Spiritual Arts has opened the door to the real-world Karakura town. Kotetsu Aizen took Asaba and others into the gate of crossing the world. Except for Asaba, it was not the first time for these 6th graders to go to the world. Therefore, Kotetsu Aizen just reminded Asaba, "Asaba, follow the guidance of the Hell Butterfly and move forward with us, don't be nervous." Asaba nodded. Karakura town, it is 10 p.m. at this time. A door opened slowly above the top of a tall building. More than a dozen figures walked out of the door and then landed on the top of the tall building. Far away, inside a store called Urahara, a man with a fisherman hat stopped fanning the little fan that was watching some comedy in his hands. "It's the breath of Yuyan's girl, Oh, there are more than a dozen Reiatsu. It's the student of the True Spiritual Art Academy who came to this world for the soul burial practice. After he finished talking to himself, he said to the tall uncle who was kneeling beside him, wearing reflective glasses. Open the barrier according to the old rules, and let Hanakari Jinda and Sumuya Yu stay in the store and don't go out and run around until the end of the soul burial practice of the students of the True Spiritual Arts Academy. Yes, manager. Kurosaki Hospital. Kurosaki Ichigo, who was already asleep, got up and looked out the window. Apparently he vaguely sensed the Reiatsu of Asaba and the others who appeared in the distance. Rukia Kuchiki, who was sleeping in Kurosaki Ichigo's wardrobe, also opened the door. Rukia Kuchiki is dead Reiatsu, but she has a Reiatsu receiver on her hand. At this moment, more than a dozen yellow dots flashed on the Reiatsu receiver. Rukia Kuchiki has also participated in the soul burial practice, and naturally knows what those yellow dots represent. Rukia, is the phantom appearing? Ichigo, go to sleep. Really don't care. Okay. After Rukia Kuchiki closed the cabinet door, she was very nervous. She wanted to find Shinigami who led the team to the Karakura town soul burial this time. By convention, those who lead the soul burial practice are the vice captains of Gotei 13th. Rukia Kuchiki, the vice captain of Gotei 13, knows him. Rukia Kuchiki wanted to talk to an acquaintance about her current situation, but she was afraid. In the end, Rukia Kuchiki, like the Shiba Kaiyan incident more than 100 years ago, chose to escape. Abandoned factory somewhere. Hiroko Shinji also gave an order to stay tonight and not go out for the time being. They have special skeletons that Urahara Kazuki developed for them, but it is better to be cautious than to do more. Every time Saraites vice captain leads the team to Karakura town for a soul burial practice, the visored people go into hiding for a while. This is the current location of your soul burial practice. From now on, you have 6 hours to find the whole soul for soul burial. Soul burial for 7 whole souls is rated as passing. After 6 hours, the portal to return to Soul Society will open here, so no matter how many souls you have buried, you must return here within 6 hours. Do you understand everything? Understood. Okay, now let's go to find the whole soul burial. This is not the first time for the 6th graders to participate in the soul burial practice. After the soul burial practice began, they all scattered around and began to search for the whole soul burial. Asaba was about to leave, but was stopped by Kotetsu Aizen. Asaba, wait. Asaba looked at Kotetsu Aizen suspiciously. Vice Captain Yongyan, what's the matter? Asaba, you've only been in school for a month, you probably haven't touched the soul burial course, do you need me to guide you? Yamato-sensei has already taught me, thank you Vice Captain Yongyan. Asaba turned around and was about to leave again when he was stopped by Kotetsu Aizen again. Asaba turned around again. Vice Captain Yongyan, is there anything else? I saw Kotetsu Aizen clenched his fists and gestured towards Asaba to cheer. Come on Asaba, I'm optimistic about you. Ah, thank you. After Asaba left, Asaba looked at the back of Kotetsu Aizen leaving and felt very uneasy. Am I intimidating him? If he doesn't agree to my invitation to join the team because of this, will the captain blame me? Reiatsu also has Reiatsu, but it's very weak, and they don't use it at all. Asaba has the ultimate Reiatsu perception of the sword drawing reward, and it is easy to find a whole spirit. The first reincarnation Asaba found was a little boy huddled in an abandoned park. Asaba came to the little boy. The little boy immediately raised his head. Brother, can you see me and hear me? Since the little boy became a whole spirit, he found that no one could see him nor hear his voice. No matter what he did, he couldn't get anyone's attention. The little boy was desperate, so he hid in this abandoned park. It's not just this little boy who has been rehabilitated. People in this world who become rehabilitated after death will have more or less the same feeling as a little boy for a period of time. It is this feeling of emptiness that will slowly turn into emptiness for those who have never been buried in their souls. Therefore, it is only necessary for Shinigami to soul bury these whole souls and send them to Rukongai before they become void. Brother, sure enough, you can't see me, can't you hear me? When the little boy saw Asaba coming to him, he thought that Asaba could see him, and was very excited. At this time, he saw that Asaba ignored him, and he was lost again. I'll take you where you should go. After Asaba finished speaking, he pulled out Zanpakuto from his waist. After Asaba released Zanpakuto's real name, the scabbard he used was still the same as before. When Asaba entered the 13th chapter of the Gotei and was officially awarded the unmarked Zanpakuto, a special person would make a scabbard for Asaba's Zanpakuto. The little boy looked at the transparent Zanpakuto in Asaba's hand, and instead of being afraid, he stood up excitedly. Great, brother, you can really see me. Asaba put the handle of the Zanpakuto knife on the boy's forehead, and soul burial started. The little boy waved goodbye to Asaba before disappearing. Thank you, brother. Asaba also waved. He looked at the little boy who disappeared and seemed to see the scene where he was buried in Rukongai by Rukia Kuchiki's soul. Rukia Kuchiki should be at Kurosaki Ichigo's house by now, should I visit her? When Asaba was in a daze. Asaba, your Zanpakuto is so beautiful, can you show it to me? Asaba looked up and saw a girl in the school uniform of the True Spiritual Arts Academy walking over. It's Miko. Asaba put Zanpakuto in the scabbard and turned to leave. Mizi hurriedly stepped forward to stop Asaba. Asaba, you met the senior who helped you, is this the attitude? Asaba looked at Miko coldly. Who are you? What? Miko felt a little uncomfortable seeing Asaba being so indifferent to her. Asaba, have you forgotten? I'm Miko-senpai who brought you the school uniform before, and you said you were looking for a chance to invite me to dinner. I've been waiting for you to invite me to dinner, but you seem to have forgotten me. I know you must be busy cultivating to become stronger, I forgive you. Asaba, do you mind if I'm older than you? Age is not a problem in Soul Society. Can I be your girlfriend? I will take good care of you, let you say goodbye to boys and experience the joy of being a man. Miko said and hugged Asaba. Chapter 21. Miko opened her arms towards Asaba and paused because she found Asaba staring at her coldly. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in a feisty woman like you. I have to continue my soul burial practice, so I'll go first. After Asaba finished speaking, he left the abandoned park gracefully, leaving behind Miko who was about to run away. Naoko walked out from the side. Naoko, Asaba's ignorant guy, Miss Ben posted it backwards. He actually said that I was sloppy. Naoko would like to say that you who have changed several boyfriends a year are just like a jerk. However, as Miko's best friend, she naturally chose to comfort Miko at this time. Miko, Asaba doesn't accept you, that's his loss, let's not be angry. Asaba is really puzzled, he will definitely be a single dog for a lifetime. Yes, you're right, this is our last time to participate in the soul burial internship. The results this time are very important to whether we can enter the Gotei 13th after graduation. Let's hurry up and find the whole soul burial. ... After an hour, Asaba suddenly senses a Reiatsu that is different from Shinigami. Asaba knew, it was the virtual Reiatsu. Before Asaba came to soul burial for an internship, he wondered if he could meet a virtuoso, but he didn't expect a phantom to appear. Hey, where the virtual appears, those two Reiatsu are somewhat familiar, are they Miko and Naoko? Asaba hurried towards the place where Void appeared. At the same time, Kotetsu Aizen, who was standing on the top of a high-rise building, also sensed the virtual Reiatsu. How can there be a false appearance at this time? I hope those students will not have an accident. Kotetsu Aizen also rushed towards the place where the virtual appeared. Inside Kurosaki Hospital, Kurosaki Ichigo room. Beep. Beep. Kurosaki Ichigo got up and opened the wardrobe door. Rukia, something has appeared, shouldn't we care? Rukia Kuchiki looked at the Reiatsu receiver in his hand, just as the two Reiatsu who were not weak were about to approach the virtual Reiatsu. Ichigo, take a good rest tonight, you'll be fine. Although Kurosaki Ichigo was puzzled, he obeyed and lay down and went to sleep. Usually, Rukia Kuchiki is more active than anyone else when there is a falsehood. What happened to Rukia Kuchiki today? ... Miko, don't stand there in a daze, run. Miko looked at Shu in front of her, her legs trembling with fright. Void, it's the kind of void that can only be found in textbooks. Miko, don't be afraid, Vice Captain Yongyun must be on his way. Naoko said and stretched out her hand to pull Miko, but Miko was already terrified, and she couldn't pull it. This is the first time Miko and Naoko meet. Miko was at the True Spiritual Art Academy, thinking about playing with her boyfriend all day long, and dreaming of being taken away by her boyfriend in the future. She didn't study and cultivate herself at all. Her Reiatsu is only a few points better than the Rukongai gangsters, and still only a smidge above the 6th level Reiatsu. At this time, Shu had already arrived in front of Miko and Naoko. Help me, who will save me? Miko felt Reiatsu on Shu's body, and when she saw Shu in front of her, she collapsed to the ground in fright. Miko, cheer up and run away with me. This virtual hand is a little deformed, it looks very long, and the fingers are also very slender. On those long fingers, there are even scary nails. At this moment, this virtual is grabbed towards Mizi, who is slumped on the ground. Miko, run away. Naoko wanted to pull Miko to escape, but she couldn't pull Miko, who was already frightened, so she had to escape by herself. Puff. Miko looked down at her heart that was pierced by Shu's long fingers. She raised her head to speak, but she couldn't make a sound, but kept spitting out blood. She saw a young man holding a Zanpakuto slowly walking towards this side. A flash of life flashed in her eyes, and she raised her hand towards the young man. Pity. She didn't wait for the teenager to rescue her, before she was caught by Shu and swallowed it in her stomach. Reiatsu, who felt his self-enhancement, was very excited after Sukuru ate Miko. After the phantom screamed, it rushed towards Naoko. Brush. A sword pressed down on Shu. Shu was hit by the sword and flew to the side. Naoko took the opportunity to run to the boy's side. Asaba, you could have rescued Miko just now, why didn't you save him? Asaba said, it can be saved, but it is not necessary. Naoko had just lost her best friend who had been with her for 6 years, and she was very sad at this time, and she was naturally very angry when she heard Asaba's words. Naoko grabbed the arm and asked, Asaba, how can you do this? Don't you and Miko know each other? Asaba patted Naoko's hand away. Before I was in the training room for the soul burial, and when I was besieged by your classmates, I never saw you and Miko help. Don't we know each other? Not only did you two not help, you didn't even speak for me. Naoko was speechless. At this time, Kuo, who was hit by Asaba's sword, got up. It had an additional wound on its body, but it was not fatal. After it made a strange noise, it charged towards Asaba and Naoko. Katetsu Aizen, who was heading here, sensed the disappearance of a student's Reiatsu, gritted his teeth and accelerated, his face full of anxiety. Please, be sure to hold on until I arrive. Brush. Facing the rushing Shu, Asaba cut out a sword pressure again. This time, Asaba used 70% of his power. Puff. Shu was slashed into two by Asaba's sword, and slowly disappeared. While Naoko was shocked by Asaba's strength, she also questioned again. Asaba, even if Miko and I didn't help you at the time, we are both students of the True Spiritual Arts Academy, so you shouldn't die. Asaba puts Zanpakuto in the scabbard. Naoko, are you not grateful that I saved you, but accuse me of not saving Miko? Also, your best friend died tragically in front of you but you can't do anything. You should blame yourself for being useless, instead of accusing me of not helping me. When Naoko thought that Miko was dead, tears kept streaming down. This is different. Miko is a living life. A living life. Asaba stared at Naoko coldly. Asaba looked coldly at Naoko, who was crying into tears. Remember the first time we met? You knew that I was being forced, but you insisted that I go to the wild with you. Did you want to kill me and those street bullies in Kimura? Isn't I a living life at the time? Just because I was forced to invite you, do you have to kill me together? I wasn't your opponent at the time. It's thanks to you that you didn't kill me in the end, and I can live to this day. That's why I just shot to save you. Now, we don't owe each other. You'd better take a detour when you see me later. Don't provoke me, or I won't be polite to you. Naoko saw that Asaba actually knew that she wanted to kill Asaba together, and for a while, there was nothing to say. Asaba was about to leave, but saw a figure fall. Katetsu Aizen finally arrived, and she was relieved to see that Asaba and Naoko were all right. Has Shu been killed? Asaba nodded. Katetsu Aizen looked down at the pool of bloodline on the ground and lowered his head. Deputy Captain Yongyan, Miko. Miko was eaten by Shu, woo woo woo. Naoko threw herself into Katetsu Aizen's arms and burst into tears. Katetsu Aizen patted Naoko on the back, his eyes full of remorse. I'm sorry, I'm late, did you and Asaba kill Shu together? Naoko didn't even grab the credit. Asaba killed it alone. Kotetsu Aizen looked at Asaba, and saw that Asaba had a calm expression on his face. In my heart, I looked at Asaba a little higher. Being able to kill Shu alone shows that Asaba has the qualifications to become the Shinigami of Gotei 13th. Kotetsu Aizen felt that she didn't need to continue watching, so she let go of Naoko and stared at Asaba seriously. Asaba, I'm the Vice Captain of Gotei 13th Division 4th Division. Vice Captain Yongyan, you have already introduced yourself. Kotetsu Aizen shook his head. No, this time is different. Last time I introduced myself as your team captain. Now, I am the Vice Captain of the 4th Division. Asaba, can you join our 4th Division after you graduate early? Although our 4th Division is a medical team, our captain is very good. Asaba smiled and said, what? Only the captain of your 4th Division is good, and Vice Captain Yongyan, aren't you in the rest of the 4th Division? Ah, me and everyone are fine, so can you join our 4th Division? Join the 4th Division. Unohana Retsu is the goddess in the hearts of many Shinigami people. Asaba's first choice for Gotei 13 is the professional fighting 11. But, if the captain is Unohana Retsu of the goddess level, it seems to be not bad. Okay, Asaba, did you really agree? Kotetsu Aizen almost jumped with joy, and Miko's tragedy was temporarily forgotten by her. Yes, but I can't know Kaido. It doesn't matter, Kaido doesn't matter, as long as you are willing to join our 4th Division. Oh well, Asaba, let's pull the tick, you promise that after you graduate early, you must choose the 4th team. Not waiting for Asaba to refuse. Kotetsu Aizen took Asaba's hand and hooked her pinky to Asaba's. Okay, we've already pulled the tick, Asaba, you can't go back then. Whoa, a string of black lines appeared on Asaba's head. For some reason, Asaba felt like he was on a pirate ship. Then you go to continue the soul burial practice. After Asaba left, Kotetsu Aizen said to Naoko, you also go to continue the practice of soul burial, I will explain to the academy about Miko. After Kotetsu Aizen finished speaking, he left, leaving behind Naoko who was still wiping tears. Naoko's mood is very complicated now. She did not expect that Asaba has now been invited to join the team by the vice captain of the 4th Division. Although she was also invited by the vice captain of the 5th Division, Hinamori Momo, that was 2 months ago, almost 6 years after she was admitted to the True Spiritual Art Academy. Whether she can really join the 5th team depends on her own performance. What about Asaba? It's only been a month since I started school. And looking at Kotetsu Aizen's attitude towards Asaba, as long as Asaba is willing, he is almost certain to join the 4th team. Naoko looked at Asaba with jealousy and hatred in her eyes. She is jealous of Asaba's growth rate and current strength. She was jealous of Asaba's release of Zanpakuto's real name so quickly, and was invited to join the team by the vice captain of the 4th Division. In the end, the jealousy in Naoko's heart turned into her hatred for Asaba's death against Miko. Naoko is very regretful now, why she didn't kill Asaba in the wild in the 43rd district of West Rukongai. In Kurisaki's closet, Rukia Kuchiki breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that the red dot representing Reiatsu had disappeared. For the next time, Asaba has been sensing the nearby whole spirits, and then finds them and buries them. Although as long as the soul burial has 7 whole souls, it can be recorded as passing the soul burial practice. But, the dean of the True Spiritual Arts Academy personally admonished Asaba. Asaba, you hardly know how to cut fists and walk away ghosts. You will suffer a lot when facing the team entry assessment of the captains. You have to try your best to achieve excellent results in the soul burial internship, plus your excellent Reiatsu control, and the liberation of Zanpakuto's real name, in order to pass the team entry test. If you want to join Gotei 13, you don't have to graduate from the True Spirit Academy. He also had to pass the entrance examination of the captains of the Gotei 13th Division. In particular, students who apply for early graduation must be individually assessed by 3 or more team captains. The content of the assessment is naturally Shinigami's 4 skills of slashing fists and walking ghosts, as well as the liberation of Zanpakuto. The so-called slashing fists and walking away ghosts. Chopping Zanpakuto, not Zanpakuto liberation, but kendo. Fist white hits. Point to Shunpo. Ghost refers to Kido. For students applying for early graduation, the most important evaluation criteria for the captains when they are accepted for the team entry assessment are the student's Zanpakuto liberation situation and the student's real combat effectiveness. Therefore, the dean of the True Central Academy of Spiritual Arts saw that Asaba had completed the liberation of Zanpakuto, and his fighting strength was good, so he personally helped Asaba to report to Gotei 13th for early graduation. Asaba is still very grateful to the dean. Therefore, Asaba decided to try his best to achieve excellent results in the practice of soul burial, which can be regarded as a repayment to the dean. The better Asaba's grades are, the brighter his face will naturally be as the dean of Junyang Spiritual Arts Academy. In the next soul burial practice time, there will be no false appearances. Soon, 6 hours passed. Asaba and other students who participated in the soul burial practice this time all returned to the top of the high-rise building before they came to gather. Kotetsu Aizen said, "It's a pity that Miko-san had an accident during this soul burial practice. I hope that all the students will take this as a warning, and you must hide or run away in time when you encounter a virtual situation, so as to give the team leader time to rescue. I can't be like Miko, who was so frightened that I ran away when I saw Shu, so that I couldn't get to the rescue in time." One of the 6th graders whispered, "I heard that Mizi was scared to pee on the spot after seeing Shu, which is a shame for our ordinary 3rd class. Cut, Mizi, she has always only been fishing for junior brothers, and she doesn't study and practice well in class at all, she deserves it. Is she really scared to pee? When I first heard about it, I thought it was fake. It's true. If you don't believe me, ask Asaba and Naoko. They were both present at the time." Naoko looked at Asaba angrily. "Asaba, you're going too far. Meiko is already dead, why are you talking about her embarrassing situation at that time?" After hearing Naoko's words, the 6th grader who had thought that Miko was frightened and exaggerated, knew it was the truth. Asaba ignored Naoko. These things were not said by Asaba, but Asaba felt that there was no need to explain to Naoko. At this time, a door slowly opened in the air. Kotetsu Aizen said, "The time is up, everyone, come back to Soul Society with me." The 6th graders began to step into the gate of the world and return to the Soul Society under the guidance of Hell Butterfly. Kotetsu Aizen's eyes signaled Asaba to stay, and then Asaba finally stepped through the gate. "Asaba, I know you didn't say that, why didn't you explain it? Naoko seems to have misunderstood you deeply." Seeing Asaba staring at her, Kotetsu Aizen hurriedly said, "Of course, I didn't say anything about Miko being scared to pee. Really, I didn't say it." Asaba burst out laughing. Kotetsu Aizen's character is indeed as he understands. Although Kotetsu Aizen has an elegant and masculine figure and appearance, his personality is soft and waxy. Well, it's quite entertaining. Kotetsu Aizen blushed. You laugh at me. Vice Captain Yang Yin, you are so cute." In addition to her sister Toru Chingyun, Kotetsu Aizen was the first to hear outsiders say she was cute, and couldn't help blushing even more. The reason Asaba knew it wasn't Kotetsu Aizen was because Kotetsu Aizen didn't know about Miko's urination. When Shu appeared, in addition to Miko and Naoko, there was actually a 6th grader hiding by the side. The fact that Miko was scared to pee was naturally said by the 6th grader. "Asaba, will you really join our 4th division?" Asaba raised his hand and hooked his little finger. "Didn't we already pull the hook?" Kotetsu Aizen didn't feel anything before, and now he just felt ashamed. At that time, she actually took the initiative to take Asaba's hand and naively pulled Gogo with Asaba. OMG. Kotetsu Aizen now just wants to find a place to crawl in. A few minutes later, Asaba and the others returned to Soul Society. Kotetsu Aizen handed Asaba and the others over to the teacher at the Spiritual Art Institute, who was in charge of checking the results of the soul burial practice, and left in a hurry. The student whose name I read came forward with a sealed state to accept the result of the soul burial practice test. Naoko. The first is Naoko. Naoko, grade 6 ordinary class 3, completed 3 soul burials and failed. The teacher of the Spiritual Arts Academy returned Naoko's sealed state to her. "What's the matter with you, Naoko? I remember that your previous soul burials have been very good, why did you only complete 3 soul burials this time?" A student told Miko's story. "So it is. The teacher of the Spiritual Arts Academy said to Naoko, Naoko, since you have been admitted to the True Spiritual Arts Academy and decided to become a Shinigami, you must be ready to sacrifice yourself and your companions at any time. If you don't want to see your companion die in front of you, you should try to improve your strength, instead of being sad because of your companion's death like you are now. I am very dissatisfied with your performance in this soul burial practice. However, it's the first time you face the pain of losing your partner, and you can be forgiven for not playing well. I will help you apply and give you a chance to re-intern. Thank you, teacher. Well, let's go. Next, Sasaki. Because Asaba was a junior who participated in the soul burial practice in advance, it was the last turn to come to the stage to submit the soul burial practice review. When Asaba handed Zanpakuto to the Spiritual Academy teacher, a hint of surprise flashed in the Spiritual Academy teacher's eyes. He saw that Asaba's Zanpakuto hilt was different from the usual sealed state, and knew that Asaba had completed the Shikai. No wonder the Academy agreed to allow Asaba to participate in the soul burial internship in advance. It turned out that Asaba had already completed Shikai just 1 month after entering the school. Asaba, Grade 1 General Class 1, complete. Completed 37 soul burials, and the achievements are outstanding. Hiss. After learning about Asaba's soul burial practice results, not only the teacher of the Spiritual Arts Academy was surprised, but everyone present was very surprised. Is this already breaking the previous record for the best soul burial internship? For a 6th graders, Edogawa, who has the best grades, has only completed 14 soul burials. These 6th graders remembered how Asaba had picked all of them before, and secretly thought that they were newcomers who were approved to participate in the soul burial internship in advance 1 month after entering school. In their eyes, Asaba became a monster they couldn't be. After the soul burial internship, Asaba returned to the dormitory. What Asaba didn't know was that he was famous at the True Spiritual Arts Academy, and he had a nickname that wasn't very elegant, the New Monster. After the soul burial practice ended, Asaba stayed in the dormitory to draw a knife to become stronger. Asaba's early graduation application has been passed in Gotei 13th, and the early soul burial practice has also been completed. Next, Asaba just needs to wait for Gotei 13 to send the captain to conduct a separate entry test for him. And then passing the test, Asaba can join the Gotei 13th. Asaba is naturally confident in passing the team entry assessment. Asaba thought that he would join Gotei 13 soon, and seeing the characters like Zaraki Kenpachi, whom Asaba liked very much, couldn't help feeling excited. The next day, Asaba was called to Kido House. Kido Inn is one of the landmarks of Junyang Academy of Spiritual Arts, just like the Academy of Spiritual Arts. The building is located behind the central square of the True Spiritual Academy. The building is not high, but it covers a large area. Kido Academy is mainly responsible for cultivating talents for the Kido community. Originally, Kido and Gotei 13 belonged to the Seraiti large-scale army. Since the original Kido commander-in-chief Tessai Tsukubishi, who followed Urahara Kazuki to live in seclusion more than 100 years ago, Seraiti cancelled the large establishment of the Kido. However, the Kido troops still exist, but their status is far inferior to that of Tessai Tsukubishi when he was in Soul Society. Now he is mainly responsible for tasks such as opening passages, opening barriers, and sealing. By convention, when the team leader conducts a separate entry assessment for a student who graduates early, he needs to assess the student's actual combat ability, so it may be necessary to fight between the student and the team leader. In order not to let the squad leader's battle, Reiatsu, affect the students in the academy who were inferior to Reiatsu. The location of the individual team assessment is generally selected in the basement of Kiduyuan with a high-strength Reiatsu isolation barrier. Under the leadership of Shinigami of Kido Inn, Asaba came to the basement of Kido Inn. Ah, it's finally here, wait until I'm almost asleep. Hieraku Shunsui, who was sitting in the evaluation booth, looked at Asaba who came in and stretched his waist. Asaba looked towards the evaluation table and saw 3 people sitting on it. One was just now, the captain of the 8th division, Hieraku Shunsui. One is wearing glasses and looks gentle and elegant, Aizen Sosuke, the captain of the 5th division. The other is Unohana Retsu, one of the 2 female Shinigami captains in active duty. Hieraku Shunsui was personally assigned by the captain Yamamoto Genyazai Shigekuni, as the main person in charge of Asaba's individual entry assessment. Aizen Sosuke wanted to use Asaba as a pawn for his next move, so he took the initiative to apply for this assessment. Unohana Retsu also took the initiative to apply to participate in the Asaba assessment. After Kotetsu Aizen went back and told her about Asaba, she couldn't wait to meet Asaba, who made Kotetsu Aizen so proud. After Asaba came to stand in the center of the venue, Aizen Sosuke nodded to Asaba, and Unohana Retsu narrowed her eyes with her signature gentle and peaceful smile. Kyoraku Shunsui, who was sitting at the very center, yawned after sensing Asaba's reiatsu. I thought the monster freshman who graduated early from the Shino Arts Academy in the shortest time period was very powerful, but it turns out that he is just a kid who only has 10 ordinary seats in reiatsu. Compared to Kyoraku Shunsui, the current Asaba is definitely a kid regardless of age or reiatsu. Asaba said, Asaba, a freshman in the first year ordinary class 1, has passed 3 captains. Aizen Sosuke said, the first time I met our 3 squad leaders, I could be neither humble nor arrogant. Asaba, you are very good, I hope your performance will not disappoint me for a while. Aizen Sosuke has already started a layout for him to invite Asaba to join the team. Kyoraku Shunsui glanced at Aizen Sosuke with some doubts. For some reason, he felt that Aizen Sosuke's performance today was a bit abnormal. Asaba, I heard that you don't know anything about cutting fists and walking ghosts, is that true? Facing Kyoraku Shunsui's question, Asaba nodded truthfully. I taught myself a little bit of kendo, Kido Shunpo and white hits, I really don't know anything about it. Who gave you the confidence to apply for graduation early? Asaba said. Beijing band leader, I have successfully graduated early, and now it is the examination for joining the team. Kyoraku Shunsui felt a little shriveled upon hearing that. Unohana Retsu, who was on the side, covered her mouth and laughed. She saw Kyoraku Shunsui looking at her and said with a smile, I'm sorry, Haru Shui, I'm not laughing at you, I just think Asaba is funny. Kyoraku Shunsui and Unohana Retsu are old acquaintances, and the two, together with Jashiro Yukitaki, are the 3 oldest Shinigami captains in Seraiti, and their relationship is usually excellent. Whether Unohana Retsu laughs because Kyoraku Shunsui is deflated, or really thinks Asaba is funny. Well, Unohana Retsu laughed, and Kyoraku Shunsui couldn't help her. Cough. Kyoraku Shunsui coughed to hide his embarrassment, and said, then let's start the team assessment now. Asaba nodded. A hint of slyness flashed in Kyoraku Shunsui's eyes. Asaba, show your slashing fists in turn now. Asaba spread his hands and said, Kyoraku Shunsui, aren't you trying to embarrass me? Kyoraku Shunsui did it on purpose. When he saw Asaba deflated, he smiled and said, kid, Jong is still old, you know. A string of black lines appeared on Asaba's head. He had known for a long time that Kyoraku Shunsui was not serious, but he didn't expect it to be so serious. Yes, I understand. Well, it's good to know. I have already learned about your situation from the dean. Although your slashing fists and walking ghosts are not very good, I heard that you are very good at Reiatsu and have liberated Zanpakudo's real name. Now, tell us, show off your power after Zanpakudo Shikai. Good. Asaba pulled out the Wuming Zanpakudo from his waist. Kyoraku Shunsui looked at the transparent Zanpakudo in Asaba's hand and exclaimed, what a beautiful Zanpakudo. Asaba threw the Zanpakudo in his hand into the air, chanting the liberation language softly in his mouth. Down the divine thunder. Qinglong. Boom. Zanpakudo, who was thrown into the air by Asaba, stopped in front of Asaba with the sound of thunder, and his form had changed. The handle has dragon scales. There are dragon beards flying at the knife edge. The blade, which was originally transparent, turned into a cyan color, with lightning entwined from time to time. After Asaba reached out and grasped the handle of the knife, the breath on his body changed. Aizen Sosuke adjusted his glasses. Really good Zanpakudo. Zanpakudo with the thunder attribute is very rare. Kyoraku Shunsui also praised. Only Shikai has tripled Reiatsu, and now Asaba has 5 seats in the Reiatsu level. Unohana Retsu looked at Asaba with a smile, but did not speak. Kotetsu Aizen really didn't lie to her. Although Asaba's current Reiatsu is not very good, in time, he will definitely become a powerful Shinigami. If Asaba can join the 4th team, he will definitely become the card face of the 4th team, so that the 4th team can get rid of the dilemma that the members cannot fight. Asaba, do you mind if I personally teach you Zanpakudo's abilities? Hyuraku Shunsui said and stood up. Don't worry, I'll fight with the same strength as your Reiatsu, and I won't use Kido White hits and Shunpo. It's my honor to play against the leader of the Jing band. Good, ha, Hyuraku Shunsui fluttered lightly across from Asaba. Then, Asaba, attack with all your strength. There is a barrier set up by the Kido people here, so you don't have to worry about causing damage. Beijing band leader, then I will be offended. Holding Zanpakudo, Asaba charged towards Hyuraku Shunsui. Hyuraku Shunsui stood still and waited for the lightning Zanpakudo in Asaba's hand to slash him, then he unhurriedly pulled out Zanpakudo to meet Asaba's slash. Ding! The moment the two blades collided, Hyuraku Shunsui immediately stepped back. It turns out that after your Zanpakudo Shikai, you not only strengthened your Reiatsu, but also greatly increased your power. As expected of the leader of the Jing band, you can see it with just one blow. It's hard not to see it. Asaba caught up with the retreating Hyuraku Shunsui and kept slashing. Hyuraku Shunsui only defended and did not take the initiative to attack. Originally, Hyuraku Shunsui intended to fight Asaba with the same Reiatsu strength as Asaba. However, Asaba's power was increased tenfold, and Hyuraku Shunsui had to defend Asaba's slash with a Reiatsu level equivalent to 5 seats in the squad. Ding, 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 ... After Hyuraku Shunsui resisted Asaba's slashes more than 10 times in a row, his body suddenly froze while he was moving smoothly. Seeing that Zanpakudo's paralyzing effect was activated, Asaba immediately raised Zanpakudo in both hands, and then slashed it down. Brush. A sword that was half a meter wide slashed towards Hyuraku Shunsui, who was standing still. Lie, it's really dangerous. Hyuraku Shunsui, who used Shunpo to dodge to the side, supported the hat he was carrying, and looked at where he was standing. I saw that there was a gully that was 1 meter deep and half a meter wide. If my Reiatsu really only has 3 seats, but I can't recover from paralysis so quickly, I will definitely be hit by your blow and be injured. It's a really good sword attack. As the dean said, you are very strong in Reiatsu control. Asaba said, Master Jing, you are using Shunpo. Ha, don't pay attention to these details. Do you still continue? Does your Zanpakudo have any other abilities? Asaba shook his head. Then stop here. Asaba put away Zanpakudo, then came to Asaba and put his hand on Asaba's shoulder. Asaba, you are really good, come to the 8th division. Asaba knew that he had passed Hyuraku Shunsui's examination. Aizen Sosuke stood up, and a Shunpo came to Asaba. Hyuraku Shunsui, you are so cunning, you took the opportunity to invite Asaba to join the team. Hyuraku Shunsui retracted his hand on Asaba's shoulder, expecting Asaba to be excited or surprised to receive his advance invitation. As a result, Asaba looked calm, but surprised him. It's called getting the moon near the water, and who asked you, Captain Aizen, to test Asaba yourself? Ha, it's true that I miscalculated, Asaba, if you want, the door of the 5th division is open for you at any time. Unohana Retsu was still sitting, but she raised her right hand and hooked her little finger towards Asaba. Asaba didn't raise his hand, but the little finger of his right hand also hooked. Unohana Retsu squinted and continued to smile when Asaba responded to the code. Aizen Sosuke and Hyuraku Shunsui turned their backs to Unohana Retsu, so they didn't notice Unohana Retsu's small movements, nor did they notice Asaba's calm response. Thank you for the love from the 2 captains. Hyuraku Shunsui saw that Asaba did not respond to his invitation immediately, and said, there are 13 divisions in the 13th division of Gotei, and each division has different responsibilities. As a newcomer, Asaba, you should really understand each division first. The squad will make a decision later. Of course, I appreciate you very much. If you join the 5th division, I can bring you a drink together. Hyuraku Shunsui frowned at Asaba, giving Asaba a look that every man understands. After an hour, Asaba followed Hyuraku Shunsui and other 3 captains to the first team meeting room. Since the opening of the Shinigami Academy, many Shinigami have graduated early from the Shinigami Academy. Among them, the person who lasted the shortest was Ichimaru Jin, the captain of the current Gotei 13th Division 3rd Division. But, From today, the person with the shortest history changed hands and became Asaba, who only spent a month. Therefore, the entire Gotei 13th Division, except for the captain of the 13th Division, Jashiro Yukitaki, was absent due to physical discomfort. Including the chief captain Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni, who is also the captain of the first team, all the team captains are assembled in the first team conference room at this moment. Standing in the middle of the first team meeting room, Asaba was both excited and nervous at the moment. For Asaba, this match was a bit unexpected. At this time, including Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni, all the captains were looking at a document. That information was the result report of Kyoraku Shunsui and others on Asaba's early entry into the team. After Yamamoto Yuanyuzai Shigekuni read the materials, he stood up with a cane. Captains, you have already read Asaba's profile, and now the captains who are interested in Asaba, let's make a statement. Kyoraku Shunsui was the first to say, Asaba, come to the 8th Division, I don't know why, but I think it's a good match for you. Aizen Sosuke followed closely. Asaba, you are lacking in slashing fists and walking ghosts. The officers in my squad are not bad in this regard, especially Vice Captain Hinamori Momo. Her Kido is very strong. If you join the 5th Division, I believe that with your talent, you will soon be able to master the punch and go away and become stronger. Aizen Sosuke's words sound appealing, but they're actually just a verbal check. Could it be that apart from the 5th Division, there is no Shinigami in the other divisions who can instruct Asaba in his practice of slashing fists and walking ghosts? Kyoraku Shunsui and Aizen Sosuke invited Asaba, while the rest of the captains sat without speaking. When Unohana Retsu was about to invite Asaba, Zaraki Kenpachi threw the unread documents on the table, got up and came to Asaba. Hey, boy, I don't feel how strong you are, come on, try to slash me. The chief captain Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni did not speak with a cane, and the other captains did not speak when they saw the old man Yamamoto, so naturally they did not come forward to stop Zaraki Kenpachi. They also wanted to see if Asaba's true strength was as impressive as the report submitted by Kyoraku Shunsui. Asaba saw that Yamamoto Genyazai Shigekuni and the rest of the captains did not speak up, so naturally they acquiesced to Zaraki Kenpachi's actions. Captain Zaraki, if I cut you, you won't trouble me, will you? The current Asaba is far from Zaraki Kenpachi's opponent. If Zaraki Kenpachi insists on making trouble with Asaba, it will be a big trouble for Asaba. Zaraki Kenpachi said a little annoyed. I will let you and cut it. Asaba pulled Zanpakuto out. Except for Kyoraku Shunsui, Aizen Sosuke, and Unohana Retsu, the rest of the Shinigami captains, looking at Zanpakuto in Asaba's hands, all lit up. What a beautiful Zanpakuto. Asaba held Zanpakuto in both hands, took a deep breath, and covered all the Reiatsu in his body to the blade. Kyoraku Shunsui knew that Asaba didn't intend to liberate Zanpakuto. He shook his head. Asaba was still too arrogant because he was too young. In Kyoraku Shunsui's view, Asaba liberates Zanpakuto, it is still possible to break the defense of Zaraki Kenpachi Reiatsu. Drink. With a loud shout from Asaba, Zanpakuto in Asaba's hand slashed to Zaraki Kenpachi's shoulder. What surprised Captain Shinigami like Kyoraku Shunsui and others? Asaba's Zanpakuto blade slashed into Zaraki Kenpachi's shoulder. Although, Asaba Zanpakuto only had the blade of less than 1 centimeter cut into Zaraki Kenpachi's shoulder, which was still enough to surprise the captains. You know, even Shinigami, who has the level of General Captain Reiatsu, is not guaranteed to break through Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu defense with just one blow when facing Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu defense for the first time. Sorry Captain Zaraki, I hurt you. Zanpakuto was taken back by Asaba, who had a certain awareness of Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu defense in his mind. Strong, really strong. Asaba covered almost all of Reiatsu's body on the blade, and then slashed at Zaraki Kenpachi who didn't take off the seal of Reiatsu's blindfold. As a result, only the blade that covered almost all of Asaba's Reiatsu broke through Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu defense. If Asaba hadn't concentrated all of the Reiatsu on the blade, I'm afraid no matter how many times Asaba slashed at Zaraki Kenpachi, he wouldn't be able to break through his Reiatsu defense. Asaba can only say, as expected of Zaraki Kenpachi. Ha ha ha, it really surprised me, Asaba, you are very strong, I recognize you, join the 11th team. Hitsugaya Toshiro said. Captain Zaraki, do you agree with Asaba? Should Asaba join the 11th Division? Asaba, come to the 10th Division. Compared with other captains, we are the most similar in age, and we must have a lot of common topics. Quote. Komamura Sajin said. Asaba, come to the 7th Division to pursue justice and light with this old man. After Komamura Sajin spoke, Tusen Kanami said, Komamura, if Asaba wants to pursue justice and light, it should be me, and together, Asaba, join the 9th Division. Asaba, your Reiatsu control is very strong, I can teach you Kido and white hits. Broken B also sent an invitation to Asaba. Byakuya Kuchiki. Asaba, the 6th Division might be a good choice for you. Ichimaru Jin. Asaba, before you, I was the one who graduated from Shino Spiritual Arts Academy in the shortest time. You broke my record, should you come to the 3rd Division to compensate me? Unohana Retsu looked at Asaba with a smile, and did not rush to invite Asaba. Asaba was previously in the Kido courtyard basement and had already responded to her code. Her confidence in Asaba joining the 4th Division is as big as her heart. Great. Unohana Retsu got up and came to Asaba after seeing that the captain and Karathashi Mayuri had no plans to invite Asaba to join the team. After Unohana Retsu came to Asaba, he didn't open his mouth to invite Asaba, but raised his hand and stretched his little finger in front of Asaba. The rest of the captains were puzzled, but saw that Asaba stretched out his little finger and hooked Unohana Retsu's little finger together. Unohana Retsu said with a smile, I'm sorry, captains, Asaba is from my 4th Division. Aizen Sosuke said, Captain Unohana, you just ticked your fingers, Asaba did not agree to join the 4th Division. In Aizen Sosuke's eyes, Asaba is a pawn he needs to use, so he will try his best to get Asaba to join the 5th Division before Asaba makes a decision. Unohana Retsu's little finger clenched tightly around Asaba's little finger. Asaba, tell them if you'd like to join the 4th Division. Asaba said, Thank you captains for their love for me, but I was invited to join the team by the vice captain of the 4th Division when I participated in the soul burial practice in advance. I agreed at that time and made an agreement with the vice captain of the 4th Division. Definitely join the 4th squad. Aizen Sosuke looked at Unohana Retsu. He now knew why Unohana Retsu had to take Asaba's soul burial internship from him before, and why Unohana Retsu took the initiative to apply for Asaba's entry assessment. Miscalculated. I knew so. Even if Aizen Sosuke personally led the soul burial practice, he would not give up that team leader to Unohana Retsu. Unohana Retsu saw Aizen Sosuke staring at her meaningfully, and said with a smile, Captain Aizen, you have already received an answer from Asaba, do you have any questions? Aizen Sosuke then retracted his gaze, and after adjusting his glasses, he returned to his usual gentle smile. Asaba, after you join the 4th Division, if you feel that the 4th Division is not suitable for you, the door of my 5th Division is open for you at any time. Thank you Captain Aizen, I remember it. Asaba was wary of Aizen Sosuke. Aizen Sosuke, who is about to defect from Soul Society, has no reason to insist on inviting Asaba to join the 5th Division. Unless, Aizen Sosuke feels that Asaba threatens his plans. Or, Aizen Sosuke took a fancy to Asaba's ability or strength in a certain aspect, and wanted to use Asaba as a game in the next plan. Thinking of this, Asaba was speechless. He was only at the level of an official now, and unexpectedly attracted the attention of Aizen Sosuke. Seeing that Asaba had made a decision, the Captain Yamamoto Yuanujai Shigekuni put on a cane. Then Asaba is brought back to the 4th Division by Unoka, and today's meeting will be dissolved. After Asaba followed Unohana Retsu out of the first team meeting room, he was stopped by Zaraki Kenpachi. Asaba, it's been a long time since I met an opponent who can cut me directly. Let's find a place to fight, shall we? Zaraki Kenpachi is belligerent, but he has no interest in opponents who are too weak. Asaba's current Reiatsu, though average, caught the attention of Zaraki Kenpachi. Unohana Retsu stood in front of Asaba and smiled at Zaraki Kenpachi. Zaraki, are you the one who wants to bully my 4th Division? Cut, I have to leave beforehand. Asaba looked at Zaraki Kenpachi's obviously unwilling back when he left, and found it a little funny. As expected of Unohana Retsu. Unohana Retsu looks gentle and peaceful, but she used to be the worst villain in Soul Society history. Therefore, Unohana Retsu has a special skill. That is, she can keep a smile without changing her expression, and only use her aura and special language to shock people. Asaba returned to Division 4 with Unohana Retsu. Kotetsu Aizen and a group of Shinigami from Division 4, seeing Unohana Retsu returning with Asaba, immediately surrounded him. They had long known that Unohana Retsu went to participate in Asaba's solo entry test today. They also learned from Kotetsu Aizen that Asaba had just entered the school for a month and was a monster freshman at the True Spiritual Arts Academy. Also, they got word from Kotetsu Aizen that Asaba will be joining the 4th Division. Originally, they still didn't believe that such an excellent Asaba would join the 4th Division as the medical team. Unexpectedly, Unohana Retsu really brought Asaba back to the 4th team. Kotetsu Aizen greeted Asaba with a smile. Asaba, welcome to the 4th Division. Thank you, Vice Captain Yang Yin. Unohana Retsu said. Everyone, from today onwards, Asaba is a member of our 4th Division. I hope you all get along well with Asaba. The Shinigami of Division 4, led by Kotetsu Aizen, all clapped their hands to welcome Asaba. After the applause subsided, Unohana Retsu looked at Asaba and said, Asaba, you don't know Kaido, so you are not responsible for the healing tasks of the 4th Division. Your main task in the 4th Division is to keep getting stronger and stronger. What? Asaba was a little confused. Kotetsu Aizen had said to Asaba in Karakura town before that it doesn't matter that Asaba doesn't know Kaido. Now Unohana Retsu is telling Asaba directly that he doesn't need to know Kaido, he just needs to work hard to become stronger. What's the situation? Isn't the 4th Division a medical team? Seeing Asaba's doubts, Unohana Retsu explained, that's right, other division Shinigami think that our 4th Division Shinigami is not capable of fighting, so from now on, you have to work hard to become stronger and become our 4th Division. The battle card of the squad. A string of black lines appeared on Asaba's head when he heard this. Speaking of the battle cards of the 4th Division, wasn't there Unohana Retsu? After Unohana Retsu's strength is fully developed, there are not many Shinigami in Soul Society who are her opponents. Yongyan, Asaba will leave the arrangement to you. Good Captain. After Unohana Retsu left, the Shinigami from Division 4 also dispersed. Asaba, come with me. Kotetsu Aizen brought Asaba to the clothing room and asked someone to measure Asaba. 3 days later, you will be able to receive the Death Tyrant outfit tailored for you. After the students of the True Spiritual Arts Academy joined Gotei 13th Division, there were people in each division who specially made Death Lord outfits for them. Next, Kotetsu Aizen brought Asaba to the scabbard room. After the scabbard master of the 4th Division made a model of the scabbard for Asaba's Zanpakuto, he reluctantly returned Zanpakuto to Asaba. It's the first time I've seen such a beautiful Zanpakuto. Thanks. 3 days later, I will personally deliver the scabbard to you. At that time, can you show me Shikai? No problem. After seeing Asaba's promise, the scabbard master vowed to make a scabbard worthy of Asaba's beautiful Zanpakuto. After leaving the scabbard room, Kotetsu Aizen took Asaba to a one-person compound. Asaba, this is your dormitory. Originally, you can only have a separate dormitory after you become an officer. This is my special consideration for you. Thank you, Vice Captain Yongyan. 3 days later, after you receive the Death Tyrant outfit, the captain will personally conduct the Zanpakuto formal award ceremony for you. After Zanpakuto is officially granted to Shinigami, Shinigami truly owns Zanpakuto, and until then, it can only be regarded as a temporary borrowing. Asaba, take a good rest these few days. Although the new Shinigami, it will take at least half a year to start a battle for the seat. But you are special. I think after you are officially awarded Zanpakuto, Sister Wa will directly let you play. Seated battle. Thank you, Vice Captain Yongyan, for telling me this news. I will prepare well these days. Oh, yes, although you don't have to be in charge of the healing mission, but you are now Shinigami of Gotei 13th Division, and you still need to know the responsibilities of each division of Gotei 13th Division. Although Asaba knew the responsibilities of the Gotei 13 divisions for a long time, he still said to Kotetsu Aizen. Also ask Vice Captain Yang Yin to inform me. Kotetsu Aizen was asked by Asaba for advice, and naturally he was very happy to start introducing Asaba to the duties of each division of the Gotei 13th Division. The first team, the team badge is Chrysanthemum, and the active captain is Yamamoto Yuanyujai Shigekuni. The responsibility of the first team is to be responsible for the announcement of Central 46 and to hold a regular captain's meeting. When there is a major event in Seraiti, the first team will also call the captain to the first team meeting room for a meeting. The selection of Asaba, who has the shortest history of graduating from the True Spirit Academy, can also be regarded as a major event for Seraiti. Therefore, today the first team called all the team leaders in the conference room. The second division, the team badge is Wang Sao, and the active captain is Broken B. The full name of the second division in Seraiti is Stealth Mobility. Compared with the rest of the division, the duties of the second division are somewhat special. They are responsible for the execution of prisoners of the Soul Society, the assassination of those identified as enemies of the Soul Society, and sometimes responsible for the undercover investigation of the target. Asaba, do you know? The second division has 5 divisions, and each division has different responsibilities. It is the division with the most responsibilities among all divisions. Asaba shook his head. He knew that the second division had 5 divisions, but Asaba could not remember the specific responsibilities of each division. The 5 teams are the Criminal Army, the Police Guard, the Supervision Team, the Dark Side Team, and the Ridding Team. The Shinjun is a combat-type detachment responsible for executing criminals and assassinating the enemy. Every Shinigami of the Shinjun has high attainments in white hits, and also knows the special white hits skills of the second division. The special white hits skills refer to the advanced white hits moves that cannot be learned in the white hits class of the True Spiritual Art Academy, such as the Bamboo Dragonfly, the Persimmon, and the Windmill. Among them, the most famous one is the Instant Coax developed by the former 2nd Division Captain Shihuin Yoruichi. The active duty commander of the Penal Corps is Broken B. The police team is an exploratory detachment, responsible for patrolling the security within the Jingling Palace, and also for monitoring all Shinigami movements of the Gotei 13th Division. The captain of the current police squad is Omaeda Marekio, the deputy captain of the 2nd Division. The supervisory team is a guard-type unit responsible for guarding the supervisory tower in Seraiti. Katetsu Aizen did not explain the supervision tower, but Asaba knew. The so-called supervision tower is actually the Worm's Nest, which is a place dedicated to imprisoning Shinigami, who is a threat to the Soul Society. The supervision tower is similar to the Infernal Hell, but it is different. The current captain of the 12th Division, Kurathashi Mayuri, was once imprisoned in the supervision tower. Urahara Kazuki, who had fled with Yoruichi Saifung and lived in seclusion, was once the captain of the supervision team. Kurathashi Mayuri was released by Urahara Kazuki from the supervision tower. The Dark Side team is a sneak-type team responsible for secretly sneaking into the investigation. The Dark Side is the most mysterious unit of the 2nd Division. It is said that even the captain of Gotei 13, very few people have ever seen the Dark Side. Well, Katetsu Aizen also knew that there was a Dark Side in the 2nd Division, but had never seen it before. Team Ridden is a speed-type unit, responsible for quickly conveying the first-level strict orders to each unit. Asaba nodded. Katetsu Aizen continues the introduction. The 3rd Division, the team badge is Marigold, and the current captain is Ichimaru Jin. The 3rd Division is a support team, responsible for supporting other divisions that need support. Our 4th Division's badge is Genshin, and the captain is naturally Unohana Retsu-sama. In addition to treatment, our 4th Division also sometimes takes on backup duties. But Asaba, you just need to work hard to become stronger, you don't have to worry about that. The 5th Division, the team badge is Mazuimu, and the active captain is Aizen Sosuke. The 5th Division is a rescue team, and its responsibilities are similar to those of the 3rd Division, but they usually come to the rescue later than the 3rd Division. The 6th Division, the team badge is Tsubaki, and the active captain is Byakuya Kuchiki. Chun is actually Camellia. Byakuya Kuchiki is not only the captain of the 6th Division, but also the contemporary head of the Kuchiki family, one of the 4 great nobles of Seraiti. The 6th Division is a noble team, and its duty is to protect the safety of Jingling Court. The 7th Division, the team badge is Iris, and the active captain is Komamura Sajin. The 7th Division is the Inner Court Guard, and its responsibilities are similar to those of the 6th Division. The 8th Division, the team badge is the Bird of Paradise Flower, and the active captain is Kiyoraku Shunsui. The 8th Division is the Intelligence Team. The 9th Division, the team badge is Bai Ying, and the active captain is Tusen Konami. The 9th division is the prison team. Team 10, the emblem of the team is Narcissus, and the active captain is Hitsugaya Toshiro. The 10th division is the patrol guard. From the 6th division to the 10th division, the duties of the division and the division of the 2nd division overlap in responsibilities. So Kotetsu Aizen didn't go into details. Team 11, the badge is Sawgrass, and the current captain is Zaraki Kenpachi. The 11th division is a dedicated combat team. Only each generation of Kenpachi is qualified to be the captain of the 11th division. Our captain is the captain of the first generation 11th division. Asaba pretended not to know that Unohana Retsu was once powerful, and said in surprise, Captain Unohana is the first generation Kenpachi. It's amazing, isn't it? Great. Kotetsu Aizen was pleased with Asaba's surprise. The 12th division, the team badge is Thistle, and the active captain is Kurathashi Mayuri. The 12th division is a technology development team, with a Technology Development Bureau under its jurisdiction, and the Technology Development Bureau is responsible for monitoring the current Reiatsu. Asaba, you'd better not deal with Kurathashi Mayuri. Asaba nodded. Not to mention Kotetsu Aizen, who has a soft personality, any woman should be more resistant to contact with Kurathashi Mayuri. Even Asaba, facing Kurathashi Mayuri in the first team conference room today, even if the two did not communicate, Asaba felt a chill in his heart when he looked at Kurathashi Mayuri. The 13th division, the team badge is Yukino, and the active captain is Jashiro Yukitaki. The 13th division is the purification team. Captain Jashiro has always been in poor health. Even our captain can't cure Captain Jashiro. Asaba knew that no matter how powerful Kaido of Unohana Retsu was, it would be impossible to cure Jashiro Yukitaki. After Kotetsu Aizen introduced the situation of Gotei 13 to Asaba, he smiled and said to Asaba, Asaba, thank you for facing so many invitations from captains and accepting my invitation to come to the 4th division. Asaba hooked his little finger. Who made us make a promise? Kotetsu Aizen blushed and remembered the embarrassment at the time. Then, I'll leave first. If you have anything, you can come directly to the deputy captain to find me. After Kotetsu Aizen left, Asaba began to clean up his small courtyard in the 4th division. Now Asaba has successfully joined Gotei 13, and has caught the attention of Aizen Sosuke. Asaba was very excited. Any Shinigami fan will be thrilled to have the opportunity to participate in the Shinigami story. I don't know what Aizen Sosuke wants to do to me. My current strength is still too weak. It is less than a month before Aizen Sosuke's betrayal of Soul Society. I must hurry up and continue to become stronger. If only Bankai could be completed before then. Asaba just thinks about completing Bankai. It took Asaba almost a month to complete Shikai, and it is almost impossible to complete Bankai in less than a month. In Asaba, he was admitted to the True Central Spiritual Art Academy, and successfully graduated from the True Central Spiritual Art Academy in advance, and then joined the 4th team through a separate entry assessment. There have also been some incidents in Seraiti. A month ago, the Technology Development Bureau was suddenly lost, and was monitored by Rukia Kuchiki, who was sent to Karakura Town by Jashiro Yukitaki without the knowledge of Byakuya Kuchiki, in the present Reiatsu. The 2nd division immediately dispatched the stealthy Shinigami to the world to find Rukia Kuchiki, but in the end came back without success. The 13th division, where Rukia Kuchiki is located, also sent Shinigami named Yenosuke Chetani to the world to find Rukia Kuchiki. Yoshinosuke Chetani found Rukia Kuchiki in this world, but after seeing Rukia Kuchiki and Kurosaki Ichigo, he felt that it was time for Rukia Kuchiki to pursue love. At the same time, Yoshinosuke Chetani was moved by Kurosaki Ichigo, who fought desperately with Shu, so he concealed the information that he had found Rukia Kuchiki in this world. When Asaba went to Karakura Town to attend the soul burial internship in advance, Abarai Renji, who was the 6th seed of the 11th division, was promoted to the vice captain of the 6th division. The 5th division captain's room. Aizen Sosuke, captain of the 5th division, is sitting at the table practicing calligraphy. The window that was closed suddenly opened by itself, and then closed by itself. Aizen Sosuke didn't seem to notice all this, and was still writing. A figure slowly appeared in front of Aizen Sosuke. The person who appeared was Tusen Konami, the captain of Gotei 13th Division 9th Division. What's your order for me? Aizen Sosuke did not look up at Tusen Kanami, but continued to write. You go to this world to check on Rukia Kuchiki's situation, and make sure for me whether Hogyoku is really in her present skeleton. Yes. After receiving instructions from Aizen Sosuke, Tusen Kanami made a movement of wearing a hat and disappeared into the 5th Division captain's room. Then, the window behind Aizen Sosuke opened again by itself, then closed by itself. After Tusen Kanami left, Aizen Sosuke stopped writing with the pen in his hand. Asaba, I originally wanted you to join the 5th Division, and then let you cooperate with my next plan. Since you chose the 4th team, and I have a hunch that you may affect my plan, don't blame me. Unfortunately, I originally thought you were an opponent worth looking forward to. Now, only reluctance to let you, a genius who has not really risen yet, die prematurely. 3 days later, the 6th grader of the True Spiritual Arts Academy has graduated. Some outstanding students passed the entrance examination of Gotei 13 and successfully joined Gotei 13, becoming the Seraiti Shinigami they always wanted to be. Those who performed well but failed the entry test, Seraiti gave them 2 options. Either continue to be temporarily granted sealed state and go to the present world to serve as a resident Shinigami. Either take back the sealed state they temporarily borrowed, and leave the Seraiti to return to their original lives. In the case of a noble of Seraiti, it is the seat of the returning family within Seraiti. If you were born in Rukongai, you will return to Rukongai. Among them, Naoko, who was in the 3rd class, successfully joined the 5th Division. As for those 6th graders with poor grades, they directly took back the sealed state, letting them go back to where they came from. On this day, the Shinigami of the 4th Division gathered in the courtyard. Today is the day that Asaba was officially awarded the untitled Zanpakuto. At this time, Asaba had changed out of the school uniform of the True Spiritual Arts Academy and put on the Death Tyrant suit tailored for him by the 4th Division. Unohana Retsu holds Asaba's Zanpakuto in both hands and hands Zanpakuto to Asaba. Asaba, on behalf of the Gotei 13th Division Commander, I officially congratulate you on your official status as Shinigami of Seraiti. Asaba took his Zanpakuto. Thank you, Captain. At this time, the scabbard master of the 4th Division came over with a new scabbard. Asaba, I made your scabbard. Asaba took over the new scabbard made by the scabbard master. Asaba's new scabbard is all white, with shallow and unknown patterns embedded on the scabbard, giving people a classical beauty. The scabbard master saw Asaba looking at the new scabbard and asked, How is it, are you satisfied? Asaba said, It's good to look good, but I don't think it looks enough hockey. The scabbard master said, Asaba, your Zanpakuto is really beautiful, so I think your Zanpakuto should be matched with an equally beautiful scabbard. Of course, if you're not satisfied with the current scabbard and want hockey's scabbard, I can reorder it for you. Asaba pulled Zanpakuto from the scabbard he had originally picked in the scabbard room of the Shino School of Spirituality, and put it in a new scabbard. It's beautiful, I'm very satisfied, thank you, no need to reorder it. The scabbard master said, Then you promised to show me your Zanpakuto Shikai earlier, you won't break your promise, right? Unohana Retsu said, Asaba, from now on, you will spend a long time with the Shinigami of the 4th Division, so please show everyone your Zanpakuto liberation. Good. The Shinigami from Division 4 made room for Asaba, then surrounded Asaba, staring intently at Asaba. They also really felt that Asaba's Zanpakuto was beautiful, and they were looking forward to what a Zanpakuto as beautiful as Asaba would look like after liberation. Rukia Kuchiki's Zanpakuto is gorgeous after liberation. Asaba pulled Zanpakuto from its new scabbard and threw it into the air. Down the divine thunder. Chinglong. Boom. Zanpakuto, who was thrown into the air by Asaba, stopped in front of Asaba with the sound of thunder. The Scabbard Division and the Shinigami of the 4th Division were all watching carefully, and Zanpakuto stopped in front of Asaba. After seeing Asaba Zanpakuto Shikai, the hilt has dragon scales. There are dragon beards flying at the knife edge. The blade, which was originally transparent, turned blue, and the blade was entangled with lightning from time to time. The Scabbard Master exclaimed, Asaba can't imagine that after the liberation of Zanpakuto, who is so beautiful as you, although it is still beautiful, it is more of a hockey. He could understand why Asaba felt that the scabbard was not enough for hockey. And the scabbard he made for Asaba does not match the Zanpakuto after Asaba's liberation. Asaba, let me make a new scabbard for you. Asaba shook his head and said, I really don't need it. After all, Zanpakuto lasts the most time in the unreleased form. The scabbard you made for me is very suitable for the unreleased state. It's best if you like it, ha ha ha, then I'll leave first. After the scabbard master left, Unohana Retsu said, Asaba, tell everyone about your Zanpakuto abilities. Asaba then took hold of Zanpakuto who had been standing in front of him out of thin air. Immediately, Asaba's aura changed, Reiatsu tripled. The 4th Division Shinigami was shocked when he sensed the change in Reiatsu on Asaba. Shikai can elevate so much of Reiatsu's Zanpakuto, it's the first time they've ever met. Like Katetsu Aizen's Zanpakuto, after Shikai, Reiatsu can only be raised less than double. After Zanpakuto Shikai, Reiatsu is generally about doubled. Shikai can enhance 2 times Reiatsu's Zanpakuto, which is one of the few in Seraidi's 2,000-year history. My Zanpakuto's real name is Qinglong. As everyone perceives, after Qinglong's liberation, it can increase my Reiatsu by 3 times, and at the same time, my strength will be increased by 10 times. When I use the Blue Dragon attack, it will be accompanied by a lightning attack. If I am hit by my Blue Dragon many times, I will be temporarily paralyzed. The above is my ability after Zanpakuto's liberation. After Asaba introduced Zanpakuto's abilities, he disarmed Zanpakuto's Shikai and then took Zanpakuto into a new scabbard. Wow, Asaba's Zanpakuto is all about fighting. As expected of Zanpakuto, the face of our 4th Division's future battle, so handsome. I don't know how strong Asaba's Zanpakuto Bankai is. Not all Zanpakuto are combat ready, or have great fighting power. Zanpakuto of Unohana Retsu, captain of the 4th Division, the main role after Shikai is not fighting. Of course, after Unohana Retsu's Zanpakuto Bankai, the abilities are vastly different from Shikai's. Unohana Retsu said, Asaba has the shortest time to graduate from the True Spiritual Arts Academy, so I especially allow Asaba to compete for the seat battle today. Katetsu Aizen smiled at Asaba, signaling that she didn't lie to Asaba. Asaba nodded to Katetsu Aizen in thanks. Asaba, now you can challenge all seats below the vice captain, make your own choice. It is possible to challenge the vice captain in the battle for the seat. The vice captain of each division is responsible for assisting the captain in handling affairs of the division. In order to become a deputy captain, in addition to the corresponding strength, you also need certain qualifications. Therefore, only officers who have the permission of the captain are eligible to challenge the vice captain. Of course, there are exceptions. For example, Kusajishi Yakiru of the 11th team, after she was brought back to the 11th team by Zaraki Kenpachi from the Rukongai grass deer area. Kusajishi Yakiru unleashed her terrifying Reiatsu, stunned all the officers of the 11th Division, and immediately became the vice captain. Another example is Abarai Renji, who was just promoted to the vice captain of the 6th Division a few days ago. He was directly appointed as the vice captain of the 6th Division by Byakuya Kuchiki without going through the battle to win the seat or showing Reiatsu. Ichimaru Jin, the current captain of the 3rd Division, graduated from the True Spiritual Arts Academy. In order to wait for an opportunity to avenge Matsumoto Rengaku, whose soul was stolen by Aizen Sosuke, he chose to join the 5th Division. After Ichimaru Jin assassinated the former vice captain of the 5th Division, Aizen Sosuke became interested, and he became the vice captain of the 5th Division. At this time, it was Asaba's battle for the 4th Division chief. The chief officer of the 4th Division looked at Asaba very nervously. As far as Asaba's power was just displayed, let alone their 4th Division officers who were not good at fighting, even their vice captain Katetsu Aizen was not necessarily Asaba's opponent. Well, this is the status quo of the 4th Division. Shinigami of the 4th Division, except for the captain Unohana Retsu, is really weak and pitiful. From the fact that Yamada Hanaduro, who can be bullied by almost a Shinigami, is the 7th seat of the 4th team, you can see the level of the 4th team officer. Asaba looked at the 3rd seat of the 4th Division and said, then I will challenge you. The 3rd seat of the 4th Division is a strange face that Asaba has never seen before, named Asano Fuji. The Asano family is a lower-level noble in the easternmost part of Seraiti, and it has begun to decline for nearly 100 years. If it wasn't for Asano Fuji's successful entry into Gotei's 13th Division's 4th Division to become a chairperson, perhaps the Asano family would have been stripped of their noble status and their clan's right to live in Seraiti. Asaba and Asano, who was constantly gulping because of anxiety, confronted each other. Asano's Kaido is okay, ranking in the top 5 in the 4th Division, but his combat effectiveness is really worrying. Asano is self-aware. He knows that although the 4th Division has 3 seats, the real combat effectiveness is probably only equivalent to the level of the 11th Division with 8 seats. Asaba said, "Senior Fuji, aren't you Shikai?" Asano said, "My Zanpakudo Shikai is used to treat injuries, so I will not be Shikai anymore." It is precisely because of his Zanpakudo Shikai that Asano can improve his healing ability. Coupled with Kaido's good performance, he became the 3rd seed of the 4th Division. Okay. To be honest, Asaba was speechless about the 4th Division's scramble. What's so special? There is no one who can fight, challenge a woolen doll, can't you just appoint it directly? **. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.